Alex and be changing shit around. Dude.
What is up, everybody? I'm Alex with Swamp Rat Fishing. We got co-hostess with the mostest, Jabber, Arts and Brews, your weekly distraction from quality podcasts. All right, so Jabber. We just started. We're literally 49 seconds into it.
I know, and you just sounded like that guy in 1988 that hacked NBC and came over. You that's what you sounded like right now. You were frozen. You were choppy. Nobody heard that this is your weekly distraction from high-quality podcast content. And tonight we have a guest that co-produces high-ass quality. I cussed before 2 minutes. Anyway, podcast content.
It was
Paul
like
from
two
Burly Fishing.
It was
What's
like
up?
two Transformers arguing. That's exactly what it sounded like.
Perfect. That's basically what the show is. How are you tonight, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. Doing super good. Glad to be here. I gotta be honest, before we get started, the logo for the podcast, 10 out of 10. I just gotta get that out of the way before we get started. Everybody should know 10 out of 10.
It would be much better that if the intro to the podcast actually showed the whole logo, but for the last year and a half, Alex still can't fix it. Alex, you got to quit moving around, dude. You got to get your Tourette's under control tonight and just move your mouth and not anything else because you're messing it up.
If you just hold that pose.
Yeah. Freeze that way.
All the way there. All right. Well, before we get started, as we always do, we've got some brews for this Bass and Brews. Paul, what are you drinking?
Well, I got the Sierra Nevada Hazy Little Thing IPA. I don't know if you guys had that one or not. This is good.
Yep.
So, I know we like to quote the content. 6.7. But
6.7.
But
7 alcohols.
I've got a couple here. I got the whole sampler pack. So I got the slightly sour ale. This one's only 5.5. That was probably a miss.
Hey, fat ass, what are you drinking?
A year from now, when you're retired, we'll see who's a fat ass. I have the Springbok from Carolina Brewing Company, a local brewery right here near me, and it's got 6.5 alcohols in it. I've got 3 of those, so I've actually got real beer, but I also am following that up. My chaser drink tonight is a White Claw Surge. It's got 8 alcohols.
White
The word.
Surge? What
Oh,
is
have
a
you not heard of
Surge?
surges?
No.
Paul,
Is it just more powerful White Claw?
Yeah, it's a White
Yes,
Claw with 8 alcohols in it. So instead of having to drink
instead
a
of
12 pack,
5%.
instead of having to drink a 12 pack and being all bloated and having to tinkle every 5 minutes,
Yeah.
I can drink like 3 or 4 of these and it's almost like a fifth of vodka. Dare me to drive M&M, quote unquote.
So it's basically like baby White Claw. Or no, baby Four Loko.
Minus the
Maybe
caffeine, because I have drank some Four Locos, and I'll tell you what, all the sugar in them things,
That's new Four Loko. That's new Four Loko. Original Four Loko, you drank one, and one, and your night was over. Like,
yeah,
it was in college. Like, that was like $4.50, and you'd be like, look, this is it. This is my whole party in this tiny little drawstring backpack. That's the whole thing. And then like that was it. And that was when power drinking was a thing. It was like I played rugby in college and I went to Michigan State. We drank beers. There was no stopping the original Four Loko. And I remember when they pulled them off the shelves, it was like I wanted to buy the whole pallet. That was I was like, I'll give you $1,000 for all the Four Lokos, because that's like 88 nights of drinking, like right there.
Mine, when I think I'm a little bit older. I'm definitely older than Alex, but I think I'm a little bit older than you. We didn't do the Four Locos, but we did 40 scissor hands.
Of course.
And so we duct tape 40s, OE, usually OEs.
I did Steel Reserve.
Steel Reserve, that's the way to go.
Yeah, more beers per liquid.
Yeah, malt beverage.
Let me finish. It's my turn now. It's my turn. We've got Ballast Point Sculpin IPA.
It's a good
8.5 alcohols.
Oh Lord!
Cheers, boys.
Alex is about to be just messed up.
I'll cheers that.
There we go. This is great podcast right here when we get this real quiet. Go ahead, Paul. You're running it, Jabberhammer. You said I can't talk, I can't move. Come on, Jabber.
No, I didn't say you couldn't talk. I said you can't move. But look, we got Paul Glass from Burly Fishing. And if y'all don't know who Burly Fishing is, Paul's the podcast or Paul's the YouTube, and go look up Burly Fishing, and you'll find it. Now I'm sure we'll get into this. There's a little bit of hiatus on the podcast, but if y'all go listen to previous stuff, great guests, good times, awesome. But they put out some great content on the YouTubes, and we're excited to have you here, man. So what's going on? What has brought you to this point in time right now? What has brought you here today? Besides Alex reaching out, forget about that.
No, yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that. So I do, as you said, we do have a podcast, and for some background, we got through like well over 100 episodes into the podcast. It was like 120 or something like that. And it had been like 2 years or so. We did one a week, and we actually pulled the plug on it. We had our last episode of the Burly Fishing podcast. If you guys haven't seen it, that's the logo. That's the Burly Fishing podcast. We pulled the plug, and actually the reason we did that, this was kind of a big deal for us because the podcast sort of introduced us to a bunch of people never would have met before. Like it's unbelievable. It's like one of the coolest parts about doing the podcast was like we got to be on with like Christine Fisher, and I'm just like it's hard to even say, like I hesitate to name guests because then it feels like favoritism, but there are so many unbelievable. But we're all about, like, Burly Fishing we're like edutainment, educational, fun. We do the dad jokes, all that kind of stuff, and community, like our Ned Rig nerds, man. If you watch the show, it's like our calling card. And one of the things we realized is like that we kind of started before a lot of people started doing fishing podcasts, and honestly, I don't even know why we started it. It was like we both fished. We wanted to do something maybe with social media. We're like, we're two idiots. We'll have a podcast. Perfect. So we did the podcast. Yeah, exactly. Right.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, weird. Like, but it's funny, kind of funny though, that joke, because that's kind of what happened. Like a bunch of people started doing it, and a lot of people make great podcasts, and ours it was initially kind of niche, and then it turned out it was like, well, a bunch of people are doing sort of the same podcast, and we were like, you know what? One thing that we pride ourselves on is we have like a value offering. Like we have something that we want that is unique that we want to provide. Like it's not like a service, but like it's a value because it's a community, and we want to be, we want our community to have our own little space. And so one of the reason we canceled the podcast was we're going to redo it. We're going to launch a new podcast. I'll say what the name is. It's going to be called the Aggressively Average Anglers Podcast. And
nice.
It's going to be very similar to what we had always done. It'll have some of like those core tenets, but we're going to add like another pillar, which is we're going to live in our lane, which is like, I'm not a pro fisherman. I never have been, never pretended to be, never will pretend to be, because I'll never be one. But I fish a lot. I make a lot of content. And that's the only reason that I'm allowed to have a podcast. And so, what we're going to plan on doing is the value offering will be our learning experience shared with you, dad jokes, 90s humor, all the things that, people kind of liked, but we're going to have that additional pillar of like, look, like this summer, the only thing I really want to do is I really want to learn about the free rig. I've never fished it. I want to learn about it. And then our guests are going to be tailored to whatever it is that we're trying to do that week. So we'll find somebody who's like, hey, you really know the free rig. Like, let's get up here. Tell me how to do it. Here's all the mistakes I made. Here's the video. And then now on the podcast, we'll do the same deal. So it'll still be awesome guests. It'll definitely be some education, but it's just going to be fun. But it'll be we're going to like make our own little corner. So we're really excited about that. And right now I'm like a one-man show. Jeff's like I don't want to call it vacation because it's not that. He's probably working harder than ever before. He's got a new business and a bunch of other stuff going on. But
another new one, he's got like 18
He's got like 50 businesses, man. He's got a new one like every week. This is the only one that's probably stuck around the longest. But yeah, I'm a one-man show. So thank God the podcast is on hiatus because I'm editing probably 3 nights a week. I'm doing like I do a YouTube or I do a TikTok every single day. I post on Instagram 3 times a day, and I do 2 YouTube videos a week. And that I'll tell you right now, like these guys, like Ethan, the online outdoorsman, who you guys were just talking to shortly ago, he does like 2 videos a week. I don't know how he does it. And he is a newborn, man. I got 2 kids, but they're still young. But dude, I don't know how. Some of these guys have been doing it for like 6 years, and I'm like 5 years or whatever, and they've got like a sizable following, but it's not like they have 300,000 followers. It's their only job. I'm like, dude, I don't know how you guys do it. Like, hats off, man. But like, holy cow, doing it for that long. It's a grind. It really
Alex left me for a while because he had to go patrol the Pacific Ocean for whale slayers and shit because he's in the Coast Guard.
Yes.
And he left me to
I'll drink to that, by the way, though. Cheers to you, my friend.
Thanks.
So I understand that. And look, when he was here, my sole goal was to record weekly, have good guests on, have good guest co-hosts on, put an episode out a week. But when it came down to posting it and doing all the fun, really good stuff that goes out on the social medias, I tried my best, but no, I just put it out there and tagged people and I didn't do all the neat stuff that he does. Now, Burly Fishing was a long form podcast. And that's good because we are long to extra long form podcast. Is the new one still going to be that long form type podcast?
It'll probably be medium to long form. It'll be like, I'd say like it'll be like an ML, medium large. Because we're not sure yet, and that's one of the things that we're still fleshing everything out. I haven't done the logo yet. I'll end up doing the logo in the next couple of weeks here. We're going to pre-record some episodes and try and have a big launch. We have some really cool partners. Waypoint Outdoor Collective is one of the folks we've been working with, and we're going to have them help us launch it and all that sort of thing. But that 1 hour mark is probably the sweet spot. So we're probably going to try and stay right there. The other thing too is you guys know when you have kids, but like a lot of times after our shows, like our kids go to bed around 8. So like right when my kids go to bed or are going to bed, we're starting the show. Show goes for an hour ish. We talk business after the fact. And then a lot of times I'm actually hopping on and I'm editing a video like right after that, whether it's for Monster Bass, for our channel, like for somebody else, now Mule Fishing, again, Ethan, we do some videos for them, and it's all of a sudden it's like, it's 2:30 in the morning. I got to get up at 5 to go to the gym and then go to work. And like, that's Friday. So it can get trying to be that 1 hour mark. Plus, if you say 1 hour, pulling the plug on Jeff's like impossible. That dude he's the only human who could do like a 35-minute outro. And you're like, bro, like we said we were getting off like 25. What are we doing? 30% of the show is just them being like, so we're going to get off tomorrow. Oh, okay.
Look, there's
Paul. Paul's the hardest guy to pull the freaking hook on.
Look, there's something to say about the gift of gab.
True.
And creating a medium to put somebody like myself and Jeff on and some other people, the gift of gab just keeps going. It just keeps going.
There's no switch. Can confirm.
No, we'll get off this shit and we'll get off this at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and I'll send the Hooks at Hoodlums a Instagram phone call, and at least 1 or 2 pick up, and we talk for another 2 hours. It's wonderful.
Holy smokes.
It's wonderful. Yeah, it's good times. It's good times.
I don't sleep, but I do need to work after these. That's the killer, man. I'll tell you right now. Yeah. Like, honestly, I used to drink beers on our show. I actually pretty much stopped doing it because I'm a father. And when you're a father and this is essentially daytime for me. When you day drink, you get sleepy afterwards. You don't get like excited. I used to get like wild. Now I just get sleepy. I have 2 beers and I'm like, this day's over. I'll be having myself a nice nap and this day is done. Like I'm cashed out. So
the only time that I get fired up and more energized is when I'm drinking during this podcast, and we'll get done with this podcast and it could go 2 or 3 hours, not this one per se, but just in general. And at the end of it, I'm so fucking wired that I can't go to bed. So I'm, usually looking at some stupid shit on the YouTube or Facebook or TikTok or something like that. And before you know it, you blink and it's 3 o'clock in the morning and your wife's like, what? Why turn that shit off?
But that's good though, because that should tell you that like when you're energized by something, that should tell you that you're doing something good, because that's how I feel about like editing. Like I don't approach those things with like, animosity or anxiety or whatever, like some of that background work that takes work, like a ton of work, I get excited about doing that stuff. So like, you know, when people are like, oh, well, you know, when do you start editing? I'm like, well, sometimes like 10 or 11 at night. And I'm like, and it takes 2 hours minimum for me to get like a decent video done. And I always do some of the extra stuff. Like in my edits, you'll always see usually background music. You'll usually see cut intros. You'll see transitions, like all that kind of stuff that most people are like, see you later. Have a nice day. And like, I don't have to do that stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like, I actually enjoy doing it. And I like learning about it. So like I color correct pretty much all my videos. And I do some of that extra stuff that takes maybe another half hour. But when I'm done, I'm like you. I got to be like, okay, I'm going to go in the other room. I'm going to read a book for like 20, 30 minutes. And then I'll be ready to go to bed. Because otherwise, I'll start doing TikToks. And I'll like, well, if I do 15 of those, then I'll go to bed. And I'm like,
so I'm glad that you brought that up. So I've listened to the show, longtime follower on Instagram. But you were one of the ones who you do this really great thing on TikTok, which I really appreciate. And to be honest, like I run the Bass and Brews TikTok, so I've absolutely been biting off your style, which is what you do is you take the popular trends, right, and you make them relate to fishing completely. 100%. And not a ton of people that are doing that. I mean, there's more now, but you were kind of one of the first ones that I saw do that, where you're taking trending sounds and then just basically doing whatever the trend was, but flipping it towards a fisherman, which is a brilliant idea. I don't know why a bunch of us weren't doing that before. Again, like if you go out there and you fish and you do a TikTok of you catching a fish and you're like, holy crap, I don't understand why I'm not growing on TikTok. That's not what that audience wants. For the most part, the audience does not want to see you catch a fish. You'll hold it up. I think that's great. They could not care less. I mean, put it out there for yourself. If you want to see that, you want your favorite Guns N' Roses track in the background as you hold up your fish, go for it.
Take me away, Sandman. Everyone's going to bed.
But like, don't expect to grow off it. But you're one of the ones that I saw specifically target those big trends, but just flipping it to the fisherman side.
You know, those voiceovers you do are funny as shit. And the ones you were doing previously a few months ago where the lips were talking on stuff. Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't watch a lot of those things, but when yours come up, I'd always watch it. And still to this day, I'm like, how the hell do you do that shit? Like, how do you make your voice, how do you make your mouth and the words all sync up? I have no idea.
I will tell you, I had a goal. So TikTok was like, I wish I had done it like 3 months earlier. I have a really good friend. He runs I met him on my like honeymoon in Jamaica randomly. He lives in Alabama. They got married like the same day that me and my wife and I did. And we just kind of like connected because everyone else at the resort we were at were morons. And it was like, it was they. I made no other friends. And so we always kept in touch. He actually we visited them once, and he actually came up to Michigan. He came out to Lake St. Clair at our cottage or whatever. But anyways, he runs he started a TikTok like way early on. And as you guys know, and maybe you don't, but like not you guys, but like in general, the earlier adopter you are, when there's less fish in the pond, you can be a way bigger fish. It's just like bass fishing. And so he was one of the early adopters, and he wasn't doing anything crazy on TikTok. He was just doing his woodworking thing, and he is blown up. And so he messaged me. He's like, right when I got started with doing other stuff, he's like, you should do TikTok. I'm like, nah, stupid, idiot. It's because like 3 months later, I really wish I had, because I would have been one of the first ones. Like there would have been nobody else. I downloaded it, deleted it, got it back later. Alex Rudd actually was the one who like put us onto it, and I don't know how I got delegated with it, but I was like determined to figure it out. And so I was making garbage TikToks for Monster Bass. I was making garbage TikToks for us. I didn't enjoy doing it. It was like a lot of work, and I was like, I could make like one in 4 hours. Like it just didn't make any sense. But I was like belligerently persistent with it, and eventually I developed a system. Eventually I found a niche totally on accident. And honestly, the reason that I do what I do is because, and I hate to say this, this really sucks. The reason I do it the way that I do it is because it's efficient. I'll sit down, instead of editing a video, that 2 hours, I can make 20 TikToks. And it's because I have to limit myself on TikTok. I'll spend 30 minutes once a week. I'm not watching for entertainment. I'm only looking trend audio, and I'll favorite it. And when I see that favorite, it goes in like your bank of favorites that no one else can see. And then I basically have a list of audio that I want to do that I think is, I don't even think about it. I'm like, well, this one's good. I can do this. And so I just favorite it. So I have this huge, like thousands of TikToks that are favorited. My goal in a half hour is to get like 30. And I'm just favoriting the ones that I'm like, I can use that. I can use that. I can use that. And then when it comes time, like later that week or the next week, I'll sit down and I'll record as many as I can before 1 a.m. And then I pull the plug and I get out. And I can do that so efficiently that that's just become my jam. If I had unlimited time, I would make different TikToks. I would still do the joke ones because I think they're funny and I like making them at this point. But I would totally do more of like the scenic stuff and like the, I do make them occasionally like when I can, but they always poop the bed because you have to make them consistently for people to follow you for that. And I just don't have time to do it. I wish the one thing I would tell people, if you're in social media, if you're into even just making content of any kind, whether it's like actual physical art, like you're drawing or whatever, like the time that you have to do it is like the limited resource. And this is coming from I work a 9 to 5. I have like a very professional job. My wife also works, which means I'm also a part-time parent. There's nobody to be like, I'm a full-time mom. And we don't have like anybody where I can just like drop the kids off for the weekend. Like all the time that I have is split 50-50 between the actual fishing, like going out and fishing, which you have to make a lot of time for. And then the rest of it is content. So like I'm basically trading my sleep and any free time on the weekend to either fishing or editing. And so you get to a point where like, if I had 20 more hours, like I believe that I could be like super, I could like blow up, but like, it just takes time. That's all it takes.
I think it's funny that you mentioned that you wanted to do more. So you really hit on a good point. Like that's what people got into you for, was the jokes or whatever your niche is, right? Because I will say I sat down and I was like, listen, I'm going to hit, I bought a drone, was that like 3-4 weeks ago, right? Bought a drone. Congrats. And I'm using it in the YouTube videos. Oh, it's so much fun. And sweet. I'm doing it in the YouTube videos, but I was like, listen, I'm going to incorporate that into the TikTok videos. So I had this one with like some drone footage, me hitting a hook set and then pulling up like a 4.5 pounder. It got 140 views. It fucking bombed. Nobody gave a shit. Nobody gave a shit. It had a trending sound in the back, all that, edited to it. It bombed. Which
Upkiss.
It is what it is, right? It is what it is. Like, it's just that audience is a little different.
And people kind of give me crap for doing it, like, because a lot of people don't like them, which is fine. I don't really care what they think. I just make what I want. But like when people are like, I don't like your TikToks, I'm like, yeah, but I can make 365 of them in a year without breaking a sweat. Yep. And they get 5 times the traction of the one that takes me 3 hours to make. So you know what? As soon as people are smart, I'll make good TikToks. People are dumb, so I'll make thousands and thousands of trash ones, and they'll blow up. So like, and it's not like I enjoy making them. It's like I think they're funny. Like these are jokes that I'm making my own jokes, and it's you just happen to think they're funny, and like people that's the game that we're playing when we're making the content. And people will come on here and tell you like, oh yeah, like only make the content that you want to make and you'll be successful. That's very true. That is not incorrect. It's not wrong. That's very, very true. But that is not necessarily like it all depends on what your goal is. If your goal is if you don't care about the speed at which you're going to blow up, great. If whatever, that's awesome. But like TikTok for us is 100% exposure. Like that's the only reason I'm using it. Like I do enjoy doing it, which is why I continue to do it. But it's an exposure tool that enables me to do the things that I actually care about, which is YouTube. So like when we do the YouTube, TikTok is bringing people over like crazy. TikTok is bringing people over to my Instagram channel. So like ours, because we have a couple now, but like it's enabling the other stuff. It brings people over to the podcast, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So like I'm not necessarily concerned about like I have to make only my style of content or else it's not worth it because I'm not having fun or whatever. Like I'm doing what's successful because my goal is legitimately the same premise as YouTube, where like it should be fun, it should be educational, it's got the same vibe as my YouTube channel. All that stuff matters to me. Integrity is important. I'm not going to get on there and not going to be lying to anybody. I'm not going to be doing anything like political or whatever. Like my own personal views are not included at all. It's fishing. It's fun. It's educational. Like that's what we do. That's what it is. But at the end of the day, it's like a means to an end. So like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, I'm only going to make TikToks that I like because otherwise I don't have no integrity. Well, it's not true. I mean, it's not why I'm using it. That's the only reason I don't do it.
I was about to say, it matters how you use the tool, right? I talk about this with a lot of creators that come on, but I heard about this whole theory, and I think it was Matt Pangrak on BTL talked about. I can't remember who he's talking about, but it might have been Brian Thrift about using this wheel method to find fish, right? Like find your hub and then do the outside.
The wheel and spoke, yeah.
Right. Yep. So then I took that to social media on like pick what your hub is, and then use your other programs or other platforms to have a different audience that you can drive to the main one, right? Like that was my whole idea. And it sounds like it's basically what you're talking about.
Well, and I've seen some people that I admire and I've stolen from, and told them like, hey, cool idea. I'm stealing it. Where they have strategically played the game that we're kind of playing, because a lot of us have the same goal, right? Like, and it sounds so sleazy. I hate even saying it because it's not 100% true, but like the goal is to grow so fast and to be so big that I can turn this into a full-time job. Like that's the goal. And anybody that tells you otherwise, 10% of them might be telling the truth. 90% of them are absolutely lying to you. Like I'm sorry, but it's just not true. Like you wouldn't like the number of people that are just making videos because they're like, golly, I just love making videos. They're driving you to a business. They are growing a business. They like doing it. It's not a lie, but like they wouldn't use hashtags if they didn't care.
Right.
Like that's the bottom line. Like you wouldn't be like, oh, I should like advertise on Instagram. Well, if they're doing that, they're trying to grow their reach. Like there are other goals. It's okay that you're making content that you like or whatever, but like that's not the only thing they're doing. So I just think that I've seen people be really successful where they're like, I'm not even going to do YouTube yet. I'm not even going to do TikTok yet. I'm doing Instagram. I'm going to get 100K or 50K on Instagram. Then I'll do something else and I'll take my 50K on Instagram and I'll leverage it into YouTube or I'll leverage it into TikTok. And they're kind of playing a game. Like they're legit, like they're like playing chess, right? And they're like, okay, if my queen is protected, I can go ahead and get as many people as possible. I'm going to hammer away at this game. And I've seen people be really successful. And like, and being an early adopter is such a huge deal. I mean, you see the Guggen squad, even like Gene Jensen, right? Like guy I really admire, great fisherman, tackle junkie, people that have been they've been around the block, but they were early adopters on YouTube. So they were big fish, small pond. And they as they should, they grabbed the attention of a ton of people because they were making good content that was useful, and there wasn't a lot of alternatives. There weren't a lot of alternatives. And so TikTok's the same way, and that's why we tried to do it when we did. I mean, we're still small. I mean, to be honest, we're dinks. We're not even at like 16,000. Like there are people who have made 5 TikToks who are 5 times bigger than me. So like we are what we are. But realistically, if I had done what I did a year earlier, we'd be a 200K channel. And that's just a early adopter. My brain, like it's amazing. Like I deleted my Facebook in like 2012 and I refused to bring it back. I actually hate social media. Like I was loath to get an Instagram when we first started this. Like I did not want to do it. I really didn't. But Jeff was like, if you don't have an Instagram, like you're not doing anything. I was like, fine. So I made an Instagram. If it were up to me, like I would love to make videos, but I truly despise social media just in general. Like I hate using it. But like kudos to people who like understood the game early, got in, put in the work, got efficient and good at making quality content, and just crushed it. Like good for them.
Well, you brought up a point.
Go ahead.
Thank you. It wouldn't have been this bad, Alex, if you would sit still and weren't lagging. Damn, quit all the moving. So I'm going to back up a little bit because you said something earlier about you get these people that say, I don't like your TikTok or this is stupid and shit like that, right? So when you have these folks that give you negative comments, a lot of times they didn't just watch that one. They've watched numerous, and they might comment about how stupid your shit is and how bad they hate it. over numerous ones. So that means they're watching it. That's engagement. So all your engagement doesn't have to be positive.
No.
Negative engagement is still engagement when you're trying to grow the social medias. I mean, that's all we're looking for, you know, the impressions, the engagements, the people that are watching, the people that are clicking and commenting. When you have those folks that have that negative view, you're gonna have the Ned Rig nerds that are then gonna come at this person, and now you've got 100 comments back and forth about how stupid this shit is and how not stupid this shit is, and why are you here and this and
100%.
that. So, you know, when you're creating content that you're getting negative feedback and responses to, you're doing it right. Now,
I would
if
agree.
all of it's negative, then you're not doing it right. There's no
controversial content. Sorry to interrupt, but controversial and negative are two very different things. If you're making negative content, go home. I don't want to get out of here, dude. Like, I don't want any of that garbage. That's trash, and that's just my opinion.
Yep.
That's my opinion. I make almost nothing, and I mean like 99.9% of the content that I make, 100% is not intended to be negative, and I would argue that 90+% of it is not negative, and that is intentional. Like, I'm not making anything out here that's supposed to be like, wow, I hate that. If I read a comment like that, it's because someone has already been super negative to a point where I'm not comfortable with it being on my page and not being acknowledged. That's the only time I'm going to say something like that. Making controversial content is the key, is actually like should be part of your business model. I mean, realistically, like some of my most engaged posts are about people eating bass. I eat bass. I eat them all the time. I was in St. Clair. I was on Lake St. Clair this weekend, and we caught our limit on largemouth, and I kept them. And we didn't come close to catching our limit on panfish, but we caught dozens of panfish, and that's a mixed bag. I'm proud to tell anybody about. But like, I'll make TikToks all the time about like people being negative about eating bass. I get more comments on those than almost anything else that I make, and I make them all the time because people like love to get into an argument. If you can start an argument in your comment section, nailed it. Thank you very much.
Literally, talk about eating bass or mention Guggen, and you're instantly going to have comments through the ass. Like, yeah.
And I in my opinion, a thumbs down is worth 2 thumbs ups. That's how I look at it. If you want to come on it, like some dude made a comment about I was using an ultralight jig. This is my favorite thing to get heated about with people is the improved clinch knot. People always get PO'd or like that knot doesn't work. You can't use that for this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, I caught 75 fish on that knot. So you please tell me how it doesn't work some more. I guarantee you more fish in this entire planet have been caught on the improved clinch knot than on any knot that any more than a Palomar knot. I bet my life on it.
Let's like, I don't, people ask me about knots and shit all the time. I'm like, I don't fucking know. I twirl it around, or run it back through, or run it back up through.
That's an improved clinch knot. Okay. That's what you just did.
Thank you. We called it, growing up, we called it the fisherman's knot. That's what we called it. And
weird.
I know, right?
Yeah.
That's the only knot I tie. I can tie it faster than the Palomar knot. I get hung up a lot because I fish in shit. I don't fish lures scared to lose them. You know, I throw my shit in. I had never had a knot come loose. I use a lot of clips on crankbaits and a lot of stuff like that. I use a lot of clips. Every time I get hung, my line always pops before the knot comes loose or before that clip breaks.
100%.
It comes loose. So in this
it's asinine.
The fucking knot. The knot thing is asinine. That's exactly. It's the dumbest shit. But leave it to anglers.
Welcome to the
argue
internet.
about the
Welcome
stupid
to the
shit.
I get it, and like I totally get it. Like you can make an argument. Like there are better knots for different situations. I'm not saying it's not true. You're talking about like the 0.01% differential. Like we're talking about like the difference that we're arguing over right now is a joke. And I'm not here to tell you that the improved clinch knot is the best knot that's ever been tied. That is factual.
That's the best fucking knot. That is the best fucking knot.
It's called the fisherman's knot.
This podcast can blow up now. And I'm telling you, like, there's no. It's
by
not,
blow up, we mean this shit's going to implode, blow up, and
even better.
We're not going to have the 10 viewers were going to drop down to 1 or 2 next week.
Dude, and it literally, though, it makes me laugh because, like, I had a dude come in and comment. He was like, this was with an ultralight jig. And by ultralight, I mean, it was I can't remember if it was a 132 or 164, but it was an ultralight jig. And and I've got 3 or 4 wraps on this knot. You know, it's tiny. And I post a picture on Instagram. He gets on there and he's like, you never post pictures of big fish and you're an idiot because you use that knot. And I'm like, he's on a jig. And I'm like, bro, I never go off on people. It's not worth it. My goal when people leave negative comments is to continue the conversation. I don't care what direction, as long as it's not negative. And so I will go, tell me more, or thank you for commenting. And I'm being positive as I possibly can. My goal is for them to leave another comment or have someone else come in and leave a comment. That's literally my only goal. I don't care about engaging with people. I'm trying to drive the engagement on that post. I got about 40 comments on that comment after the fact. And I was like, mission accomplished. Thanks for the thumbs down. That was worth 100 thumbs ups. Please continue. And that's how we handle negative stuff on YouTube. It used to bother Jeff a lot. And I would tell him, I'd be like, because it doesn't bother me really at all. And I would tell him, I'm like, dude, you got to look at it as an opportunity to start an argument where you get to be the good guy the whole time. And your goal should be to just get other people to jump on. If you can leave any kind of positive remark, I would just tell him, say thank you, heart emoji. That's what I told him to do, like, every time. Just thank you, heart emoji. And do people, well, now when he does that, people either apologize right off the face of it, or they come back negative again. And to your point, the Neg Rig Nerd crew will come out and just hammer them. And I'm like, either way, I win. So thanks for leaving the shitty comment. Like, please continue.
My the way that I think about it is the negative comments, the naysayers, those, I call it slap them across the face with love.
Yeah,
tell them they're right.
Drown them in it.
Just kind of play into that ego, because you want them to get a little more triggered. You want them to get in there, because you're going to have we all have those followers, those listeners that are going to come into our defense, and then all we have to do is sit back and be like, here we go. Let's roll.
And it's not even like I expect to be right all the time. Like, I'll tell people all the time, like, when people tell me, like, for example, someone comes in the improved glitch, I'm like, you're right. You're not even wrong. I just don't care. I just don't care. I don't care. Right. Like, I don't care, man. They'll be like, oh, that's not the best lure for this. I'm like, probably right, dude, but that's what I used. Have a nice day. Appreciate your comment. And dude, it's like, what? Dude, I don't care. I literally, the only reason I'm responding is because the algorithm says I have to. So, like, that's like, I don't go off, bro. Like, have a nice day. You're right, though. You're 100% right. You can be right. You gotta act like the youngest brother. If you act like the youngest brother at all times, just a little bit poke the bear, but like, just be nice, because you won't get in trouble when mom comes by. The older brother should get smacked right in the head. If you act like the youngest child, like, you're gonna win the whole time.
That is a fucking phenomenal analogy. That's the shit. You know what? This podcast is over. We're not going to get any better than this. The shortest fucking podcast ever. We're ending it right here. We're going to get into the shotgun round questions. Alex, take it away.
All right. So, no, we're not doing shotgun yet. All right. So I have a question. This just popped up because this did happen. So speaking about nasty comments, right? So I used to have this guy where I fish in South Jersey. Bass fishing is not the biggest deal. It's normally like striper and everything else, right? So I fish a tidal river, right? And this guy had made a bunch of comments before about how I'm ruining the fishery because I'm putting light onto the spot. And so after I was gone all winter, like, I'd been gone for a while. Like, when I came back home for that visit recently, I think I was gone for like 7 months. And one, props to him. He probably doesn't listen because he's not smart enough to figure out how to do podcasts, but he actually did stop me in my kayak to have a conversation. And he's like, oh, you're back out here. I'm like, yep. And he goes, oh, so this is going to be all over YouTube again. You're going to ruin the spot again. And I was like, no, hold on, time out. Like, I've never named the spot ever. I've never said the name of it. There's plenty of tidal rivers. There's tons of tidal rivers. Every tidal river, when it hits brackish water, it's going to have largemouth. I've never named it. I've never said where I'm at. And that dude, I've also seen him fish. He catches way less than I do. Like, I catch a lot more there, and that's not my fault. And I know he went there because he saw me put the video out. But, like, how would you respond to that? Like, somebody who's calling you out for spot burning, even though you're just trying to make the content.
This is another one where We don't run into this a lot because I don't actually fish super fishy spots. So like where I go, like Jeff and my shtick is like, we are going to a new place most times.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not pick like good places to fish. Like if everyone where I am would fish St. Clair year round or Erie, right? They would go and hammer giant smallmouth all day. I'm way more interested in catching the 1 5-pounder that's in the lake down the road than I am in catching another 4-pounder on St. Clair. Now, don't get me wrong. I just had the video I'm actually working on right now is me flying to Mille Lacs with monster bass to film a video and catching like 5-pound smallmouth. Like I love doing it. Like, don't get me wrong. And like when I'm on St. Clair, like that's what I'm going to go do. But like most of our videos, like that's what it is. It's like backwater fishing. Now, the flip side of that is we get a lot of this when we fish the river because I'll find stretches that are like loaded, like with 18, 19, 20-inch fish. And because we kayak, in the same spots and, you'll get 2,000-3,000 views on a video. Yeah. Like somebody's watching that from Michigan and is like, I know where that is. I've seen that house or that dock or that tree or whatever. A couple of things on my perspective on this one is probably different than most people's. When we first started, I used to be really into not spot burning. It like bothered me when Jeff would like mention the place where we went. And I got to a point where I was like, and I used to listen to I listened to like the Meat Eater podcast. I listened to a lot, honestly, a lot. I used to listen to way more, but I listened to a lot of podcasts. And I've after listening to people who are way more informed, way more experienced, to get way more negative comments than me, it totally changed the way that I approach this. If you are someone who spot burns, that is you. You are the problem. It's not me. If you do all of your fishing based on somebody else's research, you're the one that sucks. That is not my problem. I go fishing. I make videos. If you're going to go there and follow me around and try and catch fish, go ham, dude. But you know what? You ruined it for yourself, and you're eventually you could potentially ruin it for other people. The number of people spot burning these days is so much lower than I think it used to be when it was like the earlier days of YouTube and when like the forums were like the hottest thing.
Right.
Someone would post a picture and that whole thing. I think it's become much less prevalent than it used to be because it's become super taboo. But regardless, if I found somebody doing that, I mean, my opinion is like the same as a negative comment. I'm like, you're the problem. I'm not the problem. I'm making a video about fishing. If you want to go and fish on my spots, you're actually not doing at all what I do or what I would say that anyone should do, which is the whole purpose of our podcast started where it was Jeff and I in kayaks fishing little ponds, trying to find the biggest fish in that little pond and have fun. If you are spot burning and you want to go catch the same fish as me, have at it, bro. Have at it. Like go nuts. Like even if I was fishing St. Clair and I found the every single bed fish that's over 5 pounds in the lake and someone want to go fish it, that dude, you're doing yourself a disservice. This is a you problem. And if you burned everyone else's hole, you're the problem. I'm not the problem. I'm not the one that I refuse to be in trouble. I refuse to be in trouble for that. So go ahead. If you want to hate me for posting a video, stop watching my videos. Tank all my videos, please.
Well, with what we have in technology and fishing now, with the access to charts online, with all that, the secrets that are out there, there ain't that many secrets anymore.
None.
There's
two.
Very few. Because you can go look at Navionics and you can see.
I do it constantly.
Yeah,
I do it all. That's
there's
how I do my
live
research.
scope. There's freaking live scope.
Exactly.
They're literally able to live see these fish. I don't see how. Yeah,
but my thing with spot burning and this and that shit. Look, how many times in tournament fishing, and let's take kayak world because we're all kayak anglers, and Alex doesn't do tournament fishing, but we've had tournament guys on here and all this and that. Tournament fishing, people will fish a spot and they'll be like, this is it. This is my spot. They pre-fished it for a couple hours because they found the fish. They hooked a couple. They're 1920s. They're like, this is it. I'm coming back here first thing tomorrow morning. First morning of the tournament, they go out there and be damned if somebody ain't on their spot. They're like, what the hell? I mean, look.
Surprise, surprise. You found where the fish are, and everyone else knew about it already.
Yeah, there were probably 18 people that came and fished that spot and found that spot. And you know what? There's probably, in the kayak world, 17 of these 18 people probably caught 100 inches every day leading up to the tournament and one practicing. And then the tournament comes around. You know, I mean, there's just not that many secrets. And you can't catch other people's fish. There's spots within spots. You can find a point, and it looks beautiful, but maybe there's a single stump or a single rock where those fish go. And if you're 20 yards to the left or right or north or south, and you're not on that spot, and you're not throwing the presentation in the lure, you're never going to catch those fucking fish.
I got one for you. I got one. I will give you the best example that I'll probably ever have for that exact point. That is a great point. I have a place. My wife's family has had a place on Lake St. Clair for decades, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to go there. And it's on the water, and it's on a seawall. And we got 75 feet or whatever, and there's a seawall to either side of us. So like metal break wall, right? I've been fishing this exact place, this exact 300 feet for 8-10 years. From the time I learned how to fish, this is like where I learned how to tie and improve clinch knot. And right. And I can tell you right now, like this weekend was a perfect example. We had the mayfly hatch. I already knew exactly what I was going to throw because I knew they were all going to be eating on top for mayflies. And it was a hot day, super sunny. I knew the exact color that I needed to throw, the exact color jig, and the exact size. And I got up at around 5 a.m. because my daughter was up. My son woke up about 5:45. We filled up the little kiddie pool, brought it next to the break wall, and before 9:30 a.m., I had probably caught 30 plus fish. And I could tell you where every single fish was that was hanging out on that break wall within a foot, because I know that break wall because I'm fishing it for like 10 years, and it's only 300 feet. I have caught my PB smallmouth on that break wall. I caught first cast mornings over the 4th, a 17-inch smallmouth first cast. I knew exactly what to throw in the morning. I knew exactly what to throw, and guys come and fish that break wall all the time, all the time, and they don't catch any of those fish. The guy lived there for 25 years. He only worm and bobber fishes. He only cares about walleye. Probably only caught a dozen bass ever off that break wall. I've caught muskie off that break wall because I know exactly where they're going to be, and nobody else catches fish there. They'll tell you there's no fish there. And I will be like, I promise you it doesn't matter what day it is. I'll go catch a bass off that break wall. It may take me 10 casts, but I'll go get one for sure. Guaranteed every single day. And again, I could win a tournament from the rock corner all the way to the other end in that 300 feet. I could win a tournament in a day. That just illustrates the point that when people go out and they spot burn, first of all, I'm not backing. I'll die on the sill. That's on you. That's not on me. Like, that's on you. If you spot burn, you're the one that sucks. I don't suck. Period. I'm just, yes, I'm creating the opportunity for someone to do it. Someone still has to go do it. That's on you. So sucks to suck. But at the end of the day, you are not going to go catch my fish. And that's kind of what Jeff and I do. Like, I want to be the one. I feel very confident that there's 2 or 3 lakes that I've caught the biggest bass for that year that lives in that lake. Because I fished it maybe 24 times, and I know where the big fish are, and I know what that lake's capable of. And you know how many 5-pounders that are emptied out? How many empty 5-pounders there are in there? One. Yeah. There's probably one, and we caught that one. So I don't know, man. It's tough. Like, you never want to see it happen. I don't think I've ever seen it actually happen because I'm not that good of a fisherman. But like, if I was and it did happen, I honestly would take zero credit for it.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. The only reason I brought it up before, when he first did it, I'll be honest, he definitely triggered me. And it almost made me think of, like, do I even film while I'm back there, right? This spot is.
I hear you, man. Well, you don't want to lose your spot. You don't want to lose your spot. You don't want to lose your spot because you worked hard for that spot. You worked real hard for that
spot. And then I thought I was over, and then he brought it up again, and I was just like, Well, I mean, to be honest, he was like, "Yo, Swamp Rat," like he called me by the brand name, right?
Tag.
I was like, "Yo, that's pretty cool." And then he's like, "Oh, I fucking see your back, ruining it again." And I'm like, "Oh shit, here we go."
You know what I would have done? You know what I would have done? I would have posted that whole conversation. I would have caught a huge fish, and I'd be like, "Bro, this one's for you. Go catch this fish. Let him go." I mean, honestly though, like I totally get the reason you're feeling that is because you are a fisherman and you get it. You understand that it sucks when someone's do that to you, and you are now opening the door for someone to go do that. So that's not. I'm not saying that that's not the case. Like I get the argument, but you like me making a video and someone else doing something bad because of the video I made that's not my fault. It's not your fault. You know what you really dislike is shitty people. Jeff and I were joking around, man. We get all these we made a hate comment video. You should go watch it. It's hilarious.
I've seen that and one. That one is fucking awesome. Funny. I think
we got to make another one.
Need to do more hate videos. Yeah,
we're due. We actually do. And you know what? Like looking back at all this and all the problems that that are honestly most of the problems that I have in general. The situation's not the problem. Shitty people are the actual problem. It's somebody who comes along and decides to be a piece of garbage. That's the problem. So I refuse to take credit for it because someone else decided to take work that I made and basically ruin it for everybody else. Don't get mad at me. Get mad at all the people who suck out there. Those are the people you should be yelling at.
That's a good point. I think that's and as long as you're taking the right steps, right? You're not like, hey, I mean, even if you are, but you probably shouldn't be like, hey, here's the coordinates. This is what the locals call it.
That's fair.
Right? As long as you're doing the right thing, right? Like the place I'm talking about, I've never used its real name ever on camera.
Exactly.
Actually, I take that back. It was my third video on YouTube. It's a shitty garbage video, like most of mine. But this one I did say
not most. All.
But when I was going through and editing it, I was like, shit. And it was right when I caught a fish and I'm pulling, it was a 4.5 pounder, which is a great fish for Jersey. And I'm pulling it up and I was like, oh, look, the blank produces again. So I was like, all right, I guess I'm going to have to learn how to do the old school beep. And I fucking bleep that thing out.
That's fine, dude. Honestly, and I get it. That's a great point. And I don't do that either. But when I say I'm on the Huron River,
right,
the third longest river in the state.
Yeah, it's huge.
Get over it, dude. Oh yeah, nobody knows there's 20-inch smallmouth in the Huron. We all do, man. And yeah, if you show a dam, someone's gonna know where you were fishing. But again,
have you ever blurred one out?
No, and I'm not going to. People, you don't think people know that dam exists? I go fish that dam, and 16 boats are coming over the dam to float that stretch. And you know what? I almost promise you that not one of them caught the same smallmouth I did.
I went striper fishing with a buddy, a now buddy, but I met him off Instagram, right? Shout out to Joe. And I went with him, and as we're doing the video, I'd never caught striper. I went out in the kayak. We went toe tog and striper and triggerfish fishing.
That's so sick.
Dude, it was so much fun, but it was positioning. The whole way to fish it, too, is really interesting because it was – you had to wait for the right tide, and then you'd position behind the major expressway arms going down, even to the point where we were using dog leashes to wrap around the piling to then attach to the kayak to hold us there.
Holy
crap. We didn't have to worry about pedaling, right? Because the current started ripping. Not very safe. You definitely should have PFD, all that shit on. But to position.
See, if you'd have had a Hobie, you wouldn't have had to worry about dog leashing. You could have just handled it,
dude.
So no, because it was so actually better because I had the Old Town because I could do a forward and backwards without having to move anything.
That's a really good point. The backward. Oh man, I have opinions on that, but go ahead.
Oh,
we're going to get into that on purpose.
On purpose.
That was the
total side
in the
note.
South. We don't call it a Segway. We call it a Seague.
Yeah, that's perfect. I like that.
But as I showed him the rough cut of the draft I had of the video, and I sent it to him, and I was like, "Hey, what do you think?" Because he does YouTube also, and he's like, "Yo, you got to blur out so much shit." I was like, "What do you mean, fucking blur out?" And Joe, I did it. There were some things, and I half-ass blurred them. But then I got no problem about it.
No, I have no problem protecting a cool spot. There's nothing wrong with that. But like at the same time, and I guess this is it. Like I am not gonna feel bad about someone else being a piece of garbage. Just not.
I don't think. Yeah,
it's
I
not
don't
worth
think.
it.
Like what's funny is when you said that, it got me where I was like, this is ridiculous, because there's also like 5 other boats there. Like there was us two in kayaks and 5 boats. It's not like this is a major highway in the state of New Jersey. There's always boats where we were at.
If guides know about it, everyone's gonna know about it. And that's not. I mean, and again, if someone takes me to a spot though, if someone takes me a place and they're like, hey, like
I try to.
I worked hard to find this spot, like, and I know that, or I'm even like thinking that's the thing, then I will for sure. I'll post the video maybe, but I'm not gonna be like, well, I'm at blah blah blah. Here's how you get there. Like, no, I'm not gonna do that. Like, no, and no one should do that. Like, because again, what we're all trying to protect is like people's hard work, and we're trying to protect people's. I mean, it's kind of like this is just my opinion, but that is one of the reasons that I fish. Like one of the major reasons is that, and we kind of talked about it with like the way that Jeff and I do our fishing. It's like I'm way more concerned about finding like the biggest fish in like the local pond. And so if I work really hard to find that giant fish, and people find, everyone found out that there's a 5-pounder down the road. Like, yeah, maybe everyone now is going to fish that spot. Like everyone that, lives in Michigan. Like if someone else did all that work and someone else found those fish and found that spot that, is just a feed bag for fish, like I'd feel really bad if all of a sudden all the locals are like now smashing it and that, maybe that spot's ruined. Like I'd feel terrible. Well, I can do that with my spots. That's my choice. Right. But like, I'm not going to go and be like, hey, a guy took me out on St. Clair and found me all the sturgeon, and now I'm going to go film my own video and be like, hey, look, and if you just look right there, there's a lighthouse. Like, no, like I'm not going to
listen.
Jim Bob's going to come to that spot. He's going to catch that 5-pound smallie, take it home, and either eat it or mount it.
Yeah.
There's always a Jim Bob out there that's going to go catch that shit so they can take it home and put up 85 photos of this fish, and then 6 months later it's on his wall. It's the real fish.
But and I actually have made a lot of TikToks about that, because while I am into eating bass and keeping bass, because I'm super into like DNR management and sticking by people who actually know what they're talking about and like who are professionals at this. It does. Like I saw a guy at a lake down the road that I fish all the time with my son, because you can just catch bluegill all day and that's all he wants to do. And I'm over there and I saw like 3 20-inch bass, like big mouths, and they're all like right on this little spot. And I was like, Walker, dude, look at this, look. Then I realized this guy had already unloaded his kayak and had caught those fish and had them on a stringer on a weight down in the water. And I was like, oh, that's why they're all together, because he's going to take them home and eat them. And I literally watched him do it, and I was speechless. I was like, oh, what are you doing?
Well, 20 inches, that's
it's like, oh God, like I catch like 5 of those a year. Like,
But real quick, to touch on the conservation side of it, I think it was the University of Indiana or wherever that did the 20 or 30 year study where they caught the fish and did all this. I can't remember. I've referenced it a couple times. But anyway, they did the study where they caught the fish. And so all the fish that they caught, they separated and pulled them out. The offspring from those fish were more likely to bite and get caught.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. I hate to say this without being able to reference it specifically, but if you go search, I think it was Indiana, somewhere up in that area, they did the study. But what they came down to, one of the, I guess the theories that they got from this was all the fish, some fish never got caught. Some fish got caught numerous times, but the fish that got caught that they then bred, those offspring had a higher likely chance of biting a lure and getting caught versus the ones that didn't. And this is a 20 or 30 year study that they did over time. And so when you're taking these fish and for genetic purposes, you want to leave the biggest fish in the lake, whatever it is. If it's 3 pounds, 4 pounds, just 8 pounds, leaving those is the genetic to get the bigger fish. But taking these smaller fish, because typically your smaller fish are never going to reach that age level.
No,
they're never going to reach that size. So taking them out,
16 inches helps everybody. Take them all there.
Dude,
go nuts.
Well, some people 16 inches is the biggest in their body of water, but again, it's relative.
You get the idea.
Yeah. But that's the thing is, they have scientifically made the krill limits for a reason.
Yes.
So take the fish. Now, if you're taking a 40-pound bag and taking them home and flaying them out, there's a little bit of problem there. But if you're taking
I would think.
I
had a guy leave a comment today on one of my videos. He said, "Don't take bass; they're sport fish." And I was like,
"Oh, look,
you know how many sport fish get eaten, dude?" And then I was in my mind though, I was like, "Dude," I was like, I told him, I was like, "I will keep as many bass within the bag limit because someone did research, they did shock pulls, they netted." They did that. They've been doing it for 30 or 50 years, depending on the lake. And they said, I want you to take these ones and this many. Please go do that. They plan on you taking a certain amount of those fish. The limits are because they're like, okay, 80% of fishermen keep these fish. This is how many I want. 80% of this number. You're part of that 80%. They need you to do that to do what their plan is for that lake. And their plan is to grow the biggest bass, the biggest walleye, the most number of large jumbo perch, the biggest bull bluegills, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All the way, they want nothing more than for you to have the best time in the world on the lake. They want you to go out and break your PB every single time you fish. That's all that's all they want. They want what you want. And so when they come out and they say to do that, I'm like, happy to oblige. I get dinner, my kids get to have fun, and I'm helping grow the big bass. So yeah, I mean, like, sign me up.
Well, if anything with forward-facing sonar has taught us, and I have a buddy that I've got to fish on the boat with here recently a few times that has it. I'm not an expert. I can't tell the difference between a catfish and a bass. Now I can see a big signature versus like a crappie or perch signature and tell the difference, but in general, there's way more fucking fish down there that you're reeling your lure through that are even paying attention to it than what you're catching.
So frustrating.
People until you get into a boat and you see all the fish on forward-facing sonar, and we're not talking about the bait fish either, we're talking about the grown-ass fish. There's so many fish down there
Jeff
that
and
you are rolling by that have that you're not gonna catch.
You don't even exist. You're a log floating down the river. Jeff and I just put Garmin units on our boats this year, and I haven't got to play with it nearly as much as I should have. But we sat on a big weed pile, like a 4-foot wide one, and we pulled 3 or 4 big crappie off of it, and there were easily 20 more that you could see that we could see looking at it, and they
would swim up and sit there and stare,
just like ice fishing, dude.
Yeah.
And I've been there with ice fishing too, where I'll pull up to a spot, walk up to a spot, drill a hole, see 30 marks, and I've watched them on camera because we do have an aqua view that we got a couple years back, and I'm watching them just be like, next, throw the next bait, and I'm just like, next, not gonna do it, dude. And dude, it's the honestly, like, as cool as it is, and it is very, very, very cool. You can learn so much so fast, but it's also very frustrating for that exact same.
I was going to say that sounds like it would be detrimental to me, to how I know
mentally, mentally
that
wreck
would
you.
Fuck me up, yes.
Mentally wreck you.
But yes, initially, so the guys that I know that use forward facing, and then the little bit that I've been around it, there's that initial, oh my God, you're just fucking sitting there staring at, and you're just amazed. You're amazed.
Shocking.
And then the ones that put in the work get past that stage, and then they start to say, all right, is this my target species? Is this bass? Is this crappie? Is this catfish? Yep. They start to learn that, and then they transition into the fish behavior when you throw lures down there to then. But dude, you're talking about hundreds of hours of time to be able to get, and everybody. So the pros are out there, right? We see them on TV. so many are posting on social media. They're using live scope. Dustin Connell is one of the best on his YouTube video about talking about how he's fishing for fish and talking about, I saw you, girl, on live scope, and I got you. The amount of time these guys are fishing 300 days out of the year too.
Exactly.
They're not us that are fishing 80 days out of the year.
Which is a lot, by the way.
Yeah.
80 is a ton.
It is. And they have 3 times as much.
Yes. And they had it since day one.
Focus. Yeah.
It is. Electronics is you could do a whole show on electronics.
Oh, God.
Because I outgrew my electronics I felt like 2 years ago. And that's why we upgraded, and I wanted to go kind of like, that's one of the we kind of spent a lot of money on it, but it's like all from the business. But like when we bought them, it was like, dude, this is a lot of money. Should we do this? I'm like, dude, this is why we started doing this, was to like go do stuff that like I would never be able to do otherwise, and I would never in my like normal fishing life go drop thousands of dollars on sonar, because like I got to a point where I didn't even use it anymore. I got to a point where I didn't even use it because I was like, this is useless. Like I can see every bait fish. Oh, super great. Like, cool, man. Like but now that I've got this unit, like now I'm motivated to be like, I'll dedicate 2 hours of every fishing trip just not fishing and like dinking with like the technology. It is you could literally, it's unbelievable. And like that what just came out like right now, Hummingbird's got this, like you can literally target a piece of structure, identify a target structure, and your spot lock on your Minn Kota will not only keep you facing that specific spot, it'll keep you in your spot facing that target, and live scope will lock on, well, their version of live scope, Mega 360 or whatever, will lock onto that. And you can fish Mega Live targeting a specific piece of structure.
That's insane.
Completely bonkers. So like you push a couple buttons and it's like, okay, you just want to watch that weed pile, that rock pile, that bass, that dock, whatever it is. I'll just keep you right here. And it literally does, they're individual. And so the transducers staying right on target, and then it's just keeping you right where you are. It's like,
that's insane.
I mean, now it's just
super next level.
Now we're just putting like name tags on fish right now and being like, no, that's the one I want. Like it's insanity. It's completely.
It's like when you go to the grocery store, right? And you're
no. One to the left. I want the donut with the extra jelly filling. Like,
exactly.
It's insane.
But you're also, you can relate that type of information to bed fishing, where somebody spends 2-3 hours trying to catch one bed fish. They hook it and then they lose it, and then that fish is done. So you can correlate that information that we're gathering from the technology. It's still the same thing. I mean, so I think it was Ish Monroe 2 years ago when MLF was here in North Carolina on MLF, and they had they were on Sharon Harris for the last day. And so they were fishing for 100,000 for big bass and 100,000. I think it was 100,000. I'm pretty sure for the winter. And he had identified a double-digit bass, and he spent all day fishing for that bass. He hooks it, and the bitch comes off.
No
way.
So
it's the same. It's the same type thing with this. With the technology, is you can waste a lot of time, but that's and you hear that with the pros is they can tell these fish what they've been able to do in their 280 to 361 days on the water. They can identify fish that are ready to bite. The majority of anglers that have it, and it's still, I would be gander to say only a quarter of anglers as a whole have a forward-facing sonar at the most.
Less than
less than a quarter.
They're still wasting a lot more time fishing for fish that, one, are never going to bite, or two, are fucking catfish.
That's fair. And I would. The other thing, I mean, God, it's funny you talk about bed fishing. Before this, I was working a little bit, and I filmed like a vlog style video about that trip I did to Minnesota with monster bass, and one of the things I was asked to do was bed fish smallmouth on Mille Lacs, and I had never done that before. ever. Clearwater bed fishing for smallies. And I mean, I live next to St. Clair, and like I've never done it. And doing it out of a kayak was actually really difficult the first day. It took me a full day, cocked it up the whole day. Second day, had my mind right, knew what I was getting into, got it done. And I remember there were two things that bothered me about that trip. That the reason I made the vlog, actually. One was bed fishing smallies. Never done it. Honestly, I know that so many people do it that it doesn't matter that I do it, but that to me doesn't necessarily constitute like an excuse to go do it. I've never done it before, so that was honestly troubling a little bit. But it's actually, once you see the fish, it's kind of like you can't miss. Like it's a little bit insane. I mean, I remember the first time, I'll never forget the first time I did it on my own. Like I rolled up, no one pointed out the bed. I found the bed. I was like completely alone, dropped a bait on it, spent about 3 minutes, caught that fish. It was cool, but like not something I would probably ever do again, unless it was for like a video or something like that.
Why?
I mean, it's cool catching big fish, but like you just damage that fish's ability to like defend against the next, whatever.
Yeah, but they go back to the bed.
I know.
Well, if you put them back in the damn water, but if you take them and put them in the live well and haul them off 100 miles.
But even if you don't, even if you put them right back on and they go back to the bed, that's one less X amount of energy that they have to go then replenish, which they don't do during that week. They spend that 5 to 7 days basically not eating. They're just subsisting, waiting for a big bluegill or another whatever to come eat the fry when those fish hatch. So they're just waiting. They're literally in defense mode. So you're pulling them off, expending a bunch of energy on a fight, and if it's a smallie, you're probably on a medium light or a medium rig, and you're going to take 30 seconds to catch that fish.
20 foot of water.
And all of a sudden, now they got to go back down, and now they're half tank empty, and now they got to either leave the bed to go eat and expend more energy to get back into shape, or they're not going to have energy or enough energy to defend the bed the next time. And so
I think that's interesting that you go ahead.
No. That's it. I mean, I was really surprised, but I did have one other thing, but go ahead.
Yeah. So one, I'm very surprised to hear you say that, because there's a lot of scientific proof that as long as you're putting them back,
I know
they're not. And then and maybe not for smallies. I've never fished for smallies. No, we don't have that.
You're right.
But for largies, like all the scientific proof is showing as long as you release them, you can even release them. They're saying even a normal tournament, they find a way back, right? Or another female will go over and take over that nest and protect it, right? So I think it's really funny that you'll hold it there.
Yeah. I'm over sensitive to a lot of that stuff. And actually one of the things I talked about in this video that's going to come out, I don't know, Friday or whatever, is, they had me taking 10, 20 pictures, 2-3 clips of every fish that I catch for the video. And in my mind, I was like, dude, I don't like this. Like I let these
back in the water.
I let these fish, most fish, like if I take a picture, which you'll notice my picture, my Instagram is actually not that many fish. It's really not, because most of the time I'm like, cool fish, look at it, boom, gone. Like, and it's all for the chesty and it's gone. Like I don't really keep my fish around that often. You can go watch my videos. If it's me catching the fish, it's rare you'll see a cut, me take a picture and then do the thing. Like it's kind of rare. Like 30% of the time, something like that. And it's because like I'm super conscious. Like I've read so many studies that also say every second that you can reduce the fight on your fish and every second that you can reduce keeping them out of the water is exponentially helpful for them to recover from that fight. And I mean, I get it. I just jacked its face with a jig hook. Like I get it. I throw fish back. I let my son do it. I put him in a kiddie pool and let him throw them back. I get it. But at the same time, I'm like, why do more harm than you need to? What's the point?
Yeah.
You already jacked him in the face. Why would I go any further? Like,
we're about to see it. We're about to see it because MLF and Bass are headed up on their northern swing for the next 3 or 4 tournaments, and they are going to be fishing for bed and smallmouth. And to go back, Alex, to touch on your scientific point is, even the scientists, even the conservationists say that the bedding fish that you're taking, catching, putting a live well, taking back for weigh-in, the amount of other fish that are out there spawning outweighs those fish by thousands. Like there's so many fish that you
Yes.
don't see doing that. Now, I'll say this in the South because you can see a fish bedding in 2 foot of water in my area, but there's also fish that are bedding in 5 or 6 foot of water that you can't see.
Yeah.
And that you're never going to target. You're not going to catch now with forward-facing sonar. Maybe you are, but in general.
Absolutely. On the
But
whole,
we're about to see it with the pros going up north because that's what happened last year. I mean, they were just the MLF. I can't remember what damn lake it was, but they were just out there. I mean, tearing their ass up day after 4 days.
passing up what could be a 3.5, 4 pounder because it wasn't a 5.5, 6.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dude,
it was insane last year.
I am oversensitive to it, and I recognize that.
Yeah.
And it's something that just like, it just probably bothered me more than it should. But that's just how I am with conservation in general. I would rather be on the side of over conservative than reckless. But that's just how I am. So I'm not like, dude, you'll pull up onto a rocky flat and there'll be 30 boats out there. I couldn't even on my best day, I couldn't even come close to wrecking the fish the way that we all are. So I understand that.
Hey, this isn't a bedding story because we're past that in one of the lakes that I fish here.
Mm-hmm.
But over the last week and a half, there's been a point on Sharon Harris that last Tuesday we caught 90-something fish. The people, and they're all smalls now, but most of these fish are 1 to 1.5 pounds on average, somewhere in that range. You'll catch a 2.5 here and there, but we've done it. And then, so it's an area that we fish a lot because it's fun. They're busting shad, we're throwing top water, we're getting them all this shit. We go over there and some guy rolls up. It's like, man, we caught 70 here yesterday. And then somebody else comes up and says, my buddy said he caught 50 here 2 days ago. And so we've got these.
Why'd you bust that spot?
Way to go, spot burner.
No.
I'm joking.
You don't even need a fucking. You don't even need a graph. If you roll across the spot at the right time, there's
splashing
30
everywhere.
fish busting, and so I mean, you just start fishing it. But But it has been like that now, almost going on 2 weeks, that you're able to catch 30, 40 fish. Now, they're not the big fish. But now if you go up the lake, there's another community hole that a ton of people fish. You catch bigger fish, but there's a spot within the spot where these fish really are. And I'm in a kayak, right? So I never get there before half the bass boats. So I get over there, I go fish a couple of areas. But I can't tell you how many people sit on that spot. They either scan it and leave, or they sit on that spot for 10 or 15 minutes, and they're not catching them. And then I take my little happy ass over there in my Hobie, and I catch 3 or 4 that are 2.5, 3.5 pounds. And it's because it goes back to the same shit we were talking about before about 100%. Spot burning is you can see the fish there, and sometimes they're fucking catfish. I mean, there's a damn school of 6-pound catfish I was catching on a medium light. Do you know how aggravating that shit is?
Sounds awesome.
It's 18. Well, it is. It's 18 foot of water, so you think you got a big bass, and then it comes up and it's got your drop shot. Yeah. It's got your drop shot tied into the greatest FG knot that you've ever tied.
Yep.
And it's 150 degrees out there, and the
best way to take care of that and show them who's boss is just to eat them.
Mm-hmm.
On the water.
That's what I do.
Eat them right there, right?
Break their back, drink their spinal fluid, then eat them. That's the way to do it. That'll show you.
Yeah.
That'll show you.
And then I get home, and 2 hours later, I've got the oops and the poops coming out my mouth and butthole because I just drank the spinal fluid of a catfish.
More than that. 100%.
But yeah, I mean, the conservation side, I love the conservation side. That's what I like. I don't fish for bed and bass mainly because I'm colorblind as fuck, so I can't see them.
Yeah.
But, in general, it depends. If I'm fishing a tournament, yes, I want to catch the big fish, and that's what I want to target. If I'm out there practice fishing or, boat, I put in last Saturday, a week ago, this past Saturday, I put in 15 miles pedaling. 15 miles pedaling. I fished for less than an hour. But I've got a tournament coming up on this lake, so I wanted to go check spots. I went to some areas I hadn't been because I've already got some area. I've got spots that the fish are on. I know they're going to be there, but just in case they're not there that day, I can go somewhere else. Yeah. So I put in a lot of time to try to figure this lake out. It's my home lake. It's 15 minutes from the house. I put that time in there, but dude, this lake is small. Sharon here, it's like 4,000 acres. I mean, it's small as hell when it comes down to it. Mm-hmm. And so when you're out there fishing, though, there's only so many places that these schools are going to be in the summertime on this lake. And there's a big couple handfuls of people that know what they're going to fish the shit out of. Those fish get fished, but they move through. You can still catch them. I mean, it's just it's not the. And I guess
15 miles. 15 miles to get in the bottom 10%. That doesn't it's not a good percentage.
Well, hey, I heard that the more you graph, the better you become. I mean, that's what Johnny Schultz on says.
Hopefully.
At this point, Paul, you need anything. As our resident tournament guy in Bass and Brews, you are fucking awful at it.
I never said I was good. I just said that's the whole reason that I fish is to compete. I mean,
it's like the guy that goes to the barn just to get kicked in the nuts by a horse every time. That's Paul, basically.
Well, I don't know what you do with horses and barns up there, but down here we ain't fucking with no animals in the barns. So I don't know what your problem is.
Hey, I have one for you though. I have one. So This is what this original video. The only reason this video is going to exist is because of this question, mainly. So I was out filming this video. Well, 6 videos, 2 days. That's a lot of work.
Jesus.
And these are
or editing.
Well, yes. Just filming. So just filming, and it was for Monster Bass. And so they flew me out there, right? And they've got a camera crew. It was supposed to be 3 people total. The other 2 bailed out. Yeah, you do you. So the other 2 bail out. Yeah, the other 2 bail out, and it's just me. So it's two boats, 2 cameras, and just me. We have a rough day 1, and we're fishing summer lures, but it's on Mille Lacs, and they're still on beds early. So they're not eating topwater. They're not eating a lot of these lures. They're not eating swim baits. Like, it's just not happening. But you got to film the video. So I do my tips and tricks. I do my intro. I do my outro. I do all the B-roll, all this other stuff. And then now it's like, okay, now we got to catch some fish. Like, we're here filming a fishing video. And it doesn't happen for 2 of these videos. And so it comes down to it, and they're like, okay, the boats went out and caught a couple of fish while I was fishing. And the ask was, I want you to hold this fish. You're just going to hold it up. You're not going to say you caught it, but you're going to hold this fish for the video. And I was like, I sat there for 30 seconds. Like way longer than was probably comfortable for anybody. And I was in my mind doing the calculus of like, okay, I hate this already. On first blush, I can't stand this. I was like, I already hate myself for doing this. Then I was like, well, I can make a video explaining why I do it. Okay, that's fine. But I still hate this. And then I was like, they flew me out here to film a video. They want the video. This is the request. I know I'm not the only one doing it. I'm also not going to say I caught this fish.
Yeah.
So I did it for one video.
Okay.
And now I'm literally, I can't say I'm losing sleep over it because at the end of the day, none of this stuff matters. But I'm certainly not sleeping well for a couple of nights. And I'm still like, okay, in my brain, like I'm going to do the calculus ahead of time. Like, will I do this again the next time I go to do this? Because, lesson learned, right? Yeah. And I'm literally, I still don't know how I feel about it.
Dude, that's such a weird spot because you're 100% right on the reasons to do it, right? The reasons to do it is you are paid by Monster Bass to go out there. You're the dancing monkey for them, right? And they 100%. Want the monkey to dance this way. And that's kind of your job at that point is to do what they ask. But on the other end, and you mentioned it at the very beginning, an hour and 20 minutes ago, you said integrity is everything. So
It is.
You didn't say that you caught that bass, but it's fully implied.
Dude, it's a technicality. It's 1,000% a technicality.
I know, right? But that is
it's
such
BS.
a weird spot.
It is a weird spot. And the other thing was like I was the only one. So it's not like I could cop out and be like, oh, we got somebody else's fish. Like we're good. We got somebody else caught a fish.
Yeah.
Like, we're good for the day. If that was the case, I wouldn't feel bad about it. But you're sitting there and you're like, I don't know. And I know that people are going to watch this video and they're going to be like, it's going to be a shit show in the comment section. And I fully anticipate it and I don't really care. I'm interested to see what people think. I really am. And I would challenge people. I kind of gave some of the background on like how these videos come together and how there is a lot of pressure. I mean, you got two guys literally filming you all day. I mean, I cannot exaggerate. 10 or 12 hours. These guys are just watching you fish with a camera. Like, you know that you are wasting their time, and they are professionals at fishing this lake, the two with the cameras. They fish this lake. They can go catch fish on command off these beds or wherever. You know that they can do it, and they're literally, that they're thinking in their head, like, this fucking idiot. Like, what? Just catch damn fish. And you're like, I want to catch fish. You know what I mean? And you're and literally like it's a good way to put it. Like, you are the dancing monkey for this video. And I hate to put it that way because Monster, like I guarantee you these guys have enough integrity. And so does Monster Bass that if I told them like, no, I'm not doing that, it wouldn't have been a question. It'd been like, okay, cool, no problem. Like, we'll finish the rest of the video, blah, 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 blah. But like, you've also not done your job for the day.
Superimposed by you catching a trout.
Something about a trout is what I heard, and then a transformer taking a dump on that sentence. But dude, I mean, it's
well. So Alex, you need to slow up because you have been frozen. This is when you're filming a fishing show, and we take it back to our younger days when we watched Bill Dance and these guys. Bill Dance is one. He was always fishing these stock ponds where he's catching big fish and this and that, right? But Frank Scalish on BTL and Day 4 on BTL talks about this a lot, that when he goes out to film, it costs a lot of money to do that.
And a lot of people's time.
So, it's a lot of time. Time is money. So they're all the same. Time is money. And he talks about the pressure that he feels to go out there and catch fish during that. It's the same thing that you're talking about is, you got to catch them. Into the content creator side, that's one thing about Greg Blanchard. This is kind of going off on a fucking left field, but that dude can catch two fish and put out a 20-25 minute video and catch two fish, and I watch every fucking second.
That's my specialty.
Yes. See, it's how you put shit together. It's how you tell the story. It's how you engage people in not about the catching of the fish. It's how you engage them about where you are, what you're doing. It's that story. So it's not always about catching the fish. Now, you have to catch a fish or two. But,
and that's where it comes down to it.
That's right. You got to catch one or two, but it's still the part about the content creation side on these videos is you have to be able to put the story together, and you have to be able to engage people about, catching the fish is a cool part of it, but what you're doing, why you're doing it, where you are. It's all those things that make it interesting, that keep people tied in. They're like, you know what? He might be there. He's going to get a big one. Or you're just like, man, this shit was awesome. I just learned, about a drop shot or punching or whatever it is. That's the whole thing about the video. That video fishing is extremely hard.
I'm really interested to see what the fallout is, because like there are some days where I wake up and I think about that moment. And I'm like, you're an idiot. Like, what is wrong with you? And then there are days when I wake up, I'm like, dude, who cares? Like, everybody does this. You think KVD caught every fish that showed up like at the end of the Lose commercial? No. And I love KVD.
I do.
Well, go ahead.
I think he caught all.
And KVD. I go back and forth all the time. And to be honest, like I say this in the video, I'm like, if I'm going back and forth, that means I shouldn't have done it. Like that's where my head's at, to be honest with you. And I know in the grand scheme of things, Jeff would be like, shut up. Who cares? And he'd be right too. He'd be right too. Just like the guy who's like, I put these fish back in the water at weigh-in, and every single one of them I catch them next week. And that guy's not wrong either. But I am the weirdo who's like, I'm not even going to take a picture of this big fish because I want to get it back in the water right now because it was a 30-second fight, and that's too long for me. And so it's, dude, it's a, but it's, I want to recognize, awesome. I want to call out, it's a fine line. Yeah. It's a fine line between being full of shit and making a video.
Yeah. But you recognize that, and one, I think it's really cool. I think, so I think you doing a video expressing that is fucking awesome, because you talked about it earlier. Everybody wants to make some money off this, right? Everybody wants to be famous, quote unquote, famous for doing this. Right? You get an opportunity to taste of that, right? You get to go out with monster bass, and they're you with this. So this is like real life. If people actually want to do this, they're going to the same problem you did, right? Like, it's going to happen. I think it's really awesome that you would kind of pull the curtain behind. I think it's a really good idea to pull the curtain behind on that. I think that's a really good idea.
After I did it, after I filmed that weekend, I was on the flight home and I was like, I can't not make this video. Even if it gets 2 views or whatever, like, I don't care, because like I have to put this out there. Just for myself to be like, I just felt like I had to acknowledge it, that happened, and I had to like tell people about it without being like, ruining the video that Monster Bass is trying to make to some degree. Because it's still, I mean, obviously I'm talking about it on a show like a month later, like it's still like needling away at my brain. Because I do like being able to tell people like, no, if I catch no fish, like, you'll see the video. See the video. I tell you in every video, like, dude, we had a rough day. I got my ass beat. Like, I tell people all the time. And when people call in on the show and they're like, what kind of, whatever should I use? I'm like, dude, I have no clue. And it's like, I just don't know. And it's because I don't do that. Like, what spoon is best for? It's like, dude, I've caught like 100 fish on a spoon and they were all by accident. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? And I like being able to tell people, like, you can, like, I'll tell you when it's an ad. I'll tell you when it's a commercial, period. Like, the only plastics company we work with, Ethan, the Outdoorsman, Mule Fishing. And the reason that we work with him, it's not for the money. Like, the money is bupkis. I do it because it is the best bait I've ever used in my life. And if I was going to recommend that someone wanted to go catch fish and have fun, that bait is the one that I would tell you. I've got.
Which one? The donkey tail or the donkey tail junior?
Depends on what you want to catch, and I would switch it up. I would tell you, instead of the donkey tail junior, you should have the 2.2 minnow. And if you want to catch big bass, I broke my PB 2 times in a week on St. Clair with the same exact plastic and jig, the same exact one. That was the donkey tail. And I'll tell you right now, I'm going to post a video next week. So Wednesday, sometime like the 13th or whatever, that week, I caught, me and my buddy, well, my brother-in-law, we caught easily 40 fish in 2 hours using 2 plastics. Not types of plastics, the exact 2 plastics. Two of them. It's a cheat code. And I would not, it's not worth the money. It's not worth the integrity. It's not worth the time to work at the plastics company, unless it's one that I'm like, I'll put my name on it. If they were like, hey, put your name on this, I would literally go in and be like, where do you want me to write it down? Because it is the fish catching this bait on the face of this planet. I've caught giant smallmouth. I've caught the smallest, little, tiniest goby with it before. It catches literally everything. And I have no problem saying that. The flip side of that is I like being able to say that and do it with confidence and not feel like I'm lying to people. And so that's why I made that video and why I'm going to put it out there, because it still kind of keeps me up at night that I'm like, yeah, I actually did that. It's insane that I did that. I want to be able to tell people later on, like, I did that. I feel fine with it because I told everybody in the world that I did that. And it was to make a very specific video that someone asked me to make. And anyone that asks me, I'll be like, that bass at 247 in the B-roll only, that was not a fish that I caught. And I'm going to go in and comment on that video and be like, I didn't catch that fish. Logan caught that fish.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait till that video comes out for Monster Bass. We're going to have all the Bass and Brews troll you.
Please do. And I will happily get absolutely dump trucked by comments because again, anybody's opinion is valid on that one. Sure. And that's where, again, you're talking about like making controversial content, like as a content creator. I was like, dude, 2 birds, 1 stone. This is the most controversial thing that I personally have ever done in my life.
Right.
And I'm going to tell everyone about it. And I don't actually care what the fallout is because I already know how I feel about it. So like, you know what? Go nuts. Like, please blow it up.
Well, if the Bass and Brews contingent comes out there and blows you up, there's going to be 3 people. And 2 of them are going to be Alex, so you're safe on that side. But in general, you still post you just talked about it. You posted videos where it was a shitty day, you didn't catch any fish, how hard it is. Mm-hmm. That's anglers as a whole. Mm-hmm. The more times than not, they got there's a tough day. They can't get them to bite, whatever it is. You catch a bunch of catfish, bycatches, and stuff like that. So. That's just how it is, but people want to see that. That's relatable to the majority of anglers. Now, people want to see you catch fish. On the social media side, my whole thing, people want to see you catch big fish. Like if all your videos are you catching fish, you better be catching some big ass fish.
There got to be 1 or 2 in there. There better be at least 1. If you can get 1, like you're good. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I 100% agree. And I also would say like. We talk about like the name of the new podcast, Aggressively Average Anglers. I am happy to stay in my lane as a dude that goes fishing. And if someone comes onto my page and is like, you never catch big fish, I'm like, dude, I do not catch a lot of big fish. And I do not care. And I've never lied about it. And I'm never going to. These are the fish that I caught. Yeah. Period. The end. Again, that's why I'm making the video, because to me, none of the fish that are going to be on there that I didn't catch. There were 2 of them. They weren't like huge or anything, and they won't make the actual video. They'll all be in the B-roll. But and it's fine to say like but at the end of the day, I did it, and I want everybody to know about it, and I want everybody to know like how I feel about it, because it just I even feel like a little like somewhere in the back of my head is like I don't know. So. I don't know. And again,
but you learn from it. But you learn from it. You learn that's not something that you want to do.
I'm already 99% sure that the next time I go to film a video, that I'm not going to be doing that. And it's interesting because I thank God for day 2. If it weren't for the second day filming where I absolutely beat the shit out of them, I caught some freaking giants because we finally got again, I was fishing summertime baits in spring water, but we finally got the right bait for the right place, and I absolutely slapped the hell out of them. I got enough footage for 38 videos, and afterwards they were like, "That's the best. That's by far the best fishing day we've ever caught on film." And they do these they do one of these every month, and they do 10 videos out of them, and they've done it for like 3 months now, and I'm like, hell, yes, like some freaking redemption, dude.
Hey, that's a point that you bring up too. Is in with Monster Bass and these lure companies, they have a lure that they want to promote, or a lure that's coming out, and they want you to go film and catch them on this lure. But like you just said, I'm fishing summertime lures. The fish are on bed. Look, you can't squeeze blood out of a rock.
No.
I mean, you can't
catch topwater. You can't catch topwater walking baits. In
December.
April. You just can't. And part of it too was one of the reasons. Again, another one of my excuses for myself was like I knew all the baits with the exception of one of them, which I didn't have to do this for, and it's an arc topwater bait. It's a great bait. I have 2 of them. I fish them all the time. I have no problem telling people this bait will catch fish. It's not like it was a new bait that I hadn't used that I was like, go use this bait. It's probably good. Like, no, it was a bait that I had already used. I'd already fished that I was like, this is good bait. Like, I have this in my tackle box. I brought 2 of them, like out of my personal stock, because I believe in this bait. So that made me, again, it was like one other, just like justification for doing something shitty. But like, I'd still, if it was like some worm or some bait that I was like, I don't know anything about this, but like one of the swim jigs, if it was one of the swim jigs, I would have been like, I don't know. I've never caught a fish on that before.
Has that come up yet where they've asked you to
We've told them no to videos multiple times.
Right, that's what I'm asking about.
Where there were months where I was like, I'm not making a video for you this month. Period. Okay. Or I'll make the video and I will give absolutely no opinion whatsoever. I'm literally going to walk you through what's in the box. I'll shut it. Gotcha. That's it. And it's a catalog because and again, this isn't a dig on Monster Bass. Like if you, with everything that was going on at the time when they were putting some of these boxes together where like there were no baits available and all the baits are 3x the price that they were supposed to be, there's a reason I don't work with other companies because I don't want to recommend them because I've had them as customers before I worked for the companies. And I've literally been like, this sucks. Like I told people, I'll be very upfront with people. I'm like, do not get Monster Bass unless it's like pocket change for you if you're a really experienced fisherman, because there are great deals, but like you probably have a bunch of these baits and you don't need to learn about new baits. If you're a new angler, I will die on that hill that Monster Bass is the best box because you will get stuff that you've never seen before. 99% of the stuff that you get is high quality. Yes, there are a couple of shitty baits in there, and I will tell everybody which ones that I think are shitty. But like the flip side of it is on the whole, for $30, you will not get a better entree into fishing. They do not have, no one else has anglers that are as focused on making content for relatively new or inexperienced anglers as the Monster Bass team. And Rick and Rafi and that team try really hard to make a good product every single month. And yes, they're making money, but like I have no problem being like, if someone came to me objectively on an airplane with no recording devices around, like which one should you get? I'd tell them, get the Monster Bass one if you were buying a Christmas gift for your nephew, period.
Yeah. I think when I first started, like, I don't know if you know, like I've only been bass fishing for like 5, maybe 6 years or 6 years now, 6, almost 7, right?
Yep.
So I did get some of those other brands before Monster Bass came out. And I did try out Monster Bass, and you're absolutely right. I think I was maybe at that point, I don't think I needed them, but I could see the extreme value in it compared to the other brands that I had used at that point.
Yeah.
But you really hinted on the content one, right? The content, you guys that are out there showing the products that are coming out of that box is way more helpful and educational and productive than some of the other brands where it's just
commercial.
It's just personal fluff the whole way through, right? It's just a fluff job all the way through. You guys are actually showing it's
it's not like everybody else sucks. It's not like everybody else sucks.
The way they would but it's the way they would do it. There's this guy, again, I'm not going to say the brand, but there's a guy, he always had a visor on. Be like, yo, bro, this is the way we're going to fish this. And
sure.
And maybe that worked for, and I'm older too, so maybe they weren't searching for my demographic, but I think Monster Bass, out of the boxes, they do a fantastic job. Obviously, Bass and Brews is not affiliated with them, so.
But like 6 cents, 6 cents is a great box, but I'd recommend someone get that for 3 months and then never get it again. I've been a customer of theirs for over a year, and I've gotten the same exact one for a year straight. And they've done a couple of things recently that I would call them out for. They do limited release colors, they do limited release dates, and then the new one, I think that's really cool. But I still have and give away almost every week, another prawn or another divine shaky or whatever. And I mean, there's good baits, but like if you want to get a smattering of 6 cents, you don't want to get 48 Quake 70s for the rest of your life. And so like I think that they make, if it was just one box that you're ever going to get the 6 cents box, higher quality baits, definitely better value. But if you're going to get one like for somebody who's new to fishing, that's not helpful. They give you like really specific baits. Like an 8-inch prawn is not, or like a 5-inch prawn that's gigantic is not what you give someone who's a new angler. You want them to get the next best trick worm. You want them to get the Carolina box where you're like, I've never fished a Carolina rig. I want to learn that. Like I wish someone had given that to me when I started learning how to fish, because I didn't even know what a Carolina rig, like someone said sea rig, it was just going right over my head. Instead, they got this Monster Bass cool pamphlet, blah, blah, blah. Someone makes a video on it. It's a link right there. You're like, oh my God, look at that. And
well, I think
you now are a sea rig
the right way. They do it the right way. They do it. It is different because 6 cents, that 6 cent sack, not the new one. Somehow it still got grandfathered into the old one.
Yeah.
But I've been with, I've had that sack. We're not with them, but like I've had that sack for, what am I on? Like almost 3 years. Every month I get this this velour sack that comes in. And you're right, it is just they do have a lot of specific baits, and you're right, it's not for the beginner at all.
No.
I do like the 6th Sense, and
I love it.
There's a lot of stuff I don't use. There's a lot of like deep divers. I don't have any of that. But you know what those deep divers work for? And I want to let people know they make great Christmas tree ornaments, and they look awesome hanging from your rear view mirror.
I've had maybe 15 of these Munch, 90s, like they're Munch 40s, whatever. These are great baits. I keep 2 of them. I can't use 12 of them. Right. So I give them away to people because they like them and they're good. They're great baits. I have no problem giving them to somebody. And they are, I mean, dude, it's good. It's good stuff. I still get it because I want to see their new drop shot. I tried their their crew bin or whatever it is. Like,
what'd you think of that?
Dude, it's super, super, super destructible. Like, it's a great bait once, but like they fall apart. But it's cool bait, and it's a genius idea. So like, I don't want to take that away from them. Dude, and I have their jerk baits are wonderful. I relish getting the Provoke. Like, I love their finesse square bill is probably one of my top 5 favorite square bills. Like, the Axis 2.0 is a wonderful bait. There's nothing else like. There's only 1 or 2 other baits like it anywhere that you could even name. The Divine Shaky Worms are great. The Clout, not my favorite, but it's a great. It's a trick.
The Clout is. I think, Paul doesn't like it. I think the Clout.
No. I've never used it, but Alex only fishes the Clout.
The Clout.
There you go. There's and dude, it's like I have no, like, if you could fish only 6 Sense baits your whole life and catch 1 billion fish. And so I'm happy to say that. The flip side of it is, there have to, like, it would be like me saying, it would be like someone saying that you can only buy Nike shoes because Adidas shoes all suck. And you're like, well, Adidas shoes are great. What are you talking about?
Why?
Or you'd be like, Under Armour makes really cool t-shirts. Like, why could I not buy like Reebok? It's insane to think that there can't be like a different segment for different people. And I think that the people who fish and watch my channel, they are better served. They are better served with a Monster Bass subscription. And so that is why I'm more than happy to work with them. Plus, I know the people. They helped us grow, and I'm tied in. And so I'm happy to make that video and apparently bullshit the entire world and hold up the
But what it comes down to, hold on a second. Let me say my one word. What it comes down to is the Monster Bass versus 6 Sense, what we've been talking about. They're geared towards 2 different demographics of anglers. And so, that's what, but when it comes down to it, new anglers don't necessarily know. They don't know what they don't know. So
100%.
you giving them that intel into a new angler is better served by this one. But as you grow and as anglers start to realize what they like to throw and the presentations and this and that, they can dial it in. So it's not to say you're not saying one's better than the other. You're just saying one's better than the other for the different demographic.
This little
that they're
slice
targeting.
of the demographic.
Yeah, that's right.
Agree. Like I said, I get 6 Sense. I've gotten 3 dozen Guggen boxes. I've gotten, that's what you call them, and I've gotten all the shitty Dark Horse, like random ass, whatever cigar box tackle. We've done them all. Like, that was our shtick for a long time.
I loved it. I loved it when you guys would do the boxes, but then you'd always have like a bunch of shitty ones in there. And I was like, oh man, I made the right decision.
We would always, that was a fun time. Actually, we had so much growth because that was our shtick. And we actually had to reinvent ourselves into doing fishing videos and different unboxings and tips and tricks because, that kind of went away after like 2020. And it was like, we weren't getting the same traction. And thank God for that, because as much as we liked doing that, I'm really glad we changed things. I wouldn't still be doing this if it was just unboxings. Now the unboxings that I do, I actually really like. So for example, I just recorded one that just posted recently. Oh, here's another. I'm really excited to fish one of these. 6 Sense Speedway. The thing looks freaking sweet, dude. But we just did a where's that? Here it is. We just did I just did an unboxing of Molex baits. The lighting is garbage. This is one of the coolest baits, I'm telling you right now, that I never knew about. It's like a micro flipping bait. It's a 3-inch. It's in like a watermelon color, purple watermelon. But it's basically their take. It's a phthalate free, extra stretchy, just like the Z-Man Elastec type stuff. This is the sickest looking. Go watch the video. This thing is insane. And there's so many good Molex baits out there, and I'd never used them before. But like now I do these unboxings where it's like, let's pick a small company that nobody knows about. I'm gonna go spend $50 and I'll unbox it and I'll give because I bought it, I can give whatever opinion I want. And I did the same thing with Molex, even though they're not really small, they're big. They work with like Ike and but they're from Italy and not a lot of people know about them. And the price tag scares people away. It shouldn't. The nicest buzz bait that I've ever put hands on is in that box. I'm telling you. Period. Like it makes
what did Ike fish off that? Was it their chatter or their bladed jig?
I have one. Yeah. I have. So here's
I think it was his bladed jig that he killed it on MLF with. Yeah.
This is the sickest. Yeah. It's a weedless. It's got a flipping hook on the back, and this is actually instead of being the blade being loose, it's actually loose right here. And there's another bait that tried to copy this. Lunker Hunt did it. It's one of the worst baits ever made. This version of it is freaking awesome. This thing is sick. I cannot wait to fish this bait. But yeah, it's
Lunker Hunt. We call him. Reach out to Paul. Because guess what? Not only will he'll do a video for you, but then you can also just superimpose his face on anybody catching a fish. He's okay with that.
You can just sue me after because you're not gonna want the review. It's not gonna be good. Lunker Hunt has like 2 home run hitters and like a whole bunch of home run cuts. We talk about them on the channel all the time. It's actually a sensitive topic because they have a close relationship with Monster Bass. But like we did 2 episodes, one on like my most favorite baits and one on our least favorite baits. And Lunker Hunt made both ends of them. So they made both of them. It is what it is, man. Not everyone can do home runs all the time. But yeah, dude, like I like doing those unboxings way more because I love trying new stuff. It's fun. That's again one of the reasons we do the channel. But I think people really gravitate towards those. So we did like Third Eye Fishing. We met some really cool people. A whole bunch of people placed orders and like had their eyes open to, basically I'm spending your $50 and I'll tell you what my opinion is for what it's worth. And I think that is an unboxing. Again, you talk about the value proposition of like a podcast or a video or a YouTube channel or a TikTok or whatever. And it's trying to figure out what that's going to be. So like I'm happy to do the unboxings in that way because I feel like it's adding value and people can watch that and actually learn something, get a little edutainment out of it, a couple dad jokes, and then pop off. And hopefully it's a successful 20-minute video. And I'm happy. I'll do those all day. Yeah. Happy to do those.
We're running out of a little bit of time here. I want to back it up again for the second or third time on a controversial subject. And I could tell it's controversial because I brought it up a little bit earlier. And you perked up, and I know Alex perked up the Hobie content versus the old town. Yeah. So where Alex, Paul, take it away. Paul Glass, from Burly Fishing. You take it away. Where when I said that, what popped into your mind, and where are we going?
All right. My first kayak was an Old Town. It was a Predator. I had the MX. Wonderful boat, like wonderful paddle boat. And when Jeff had at the time a Gen 1 Pro Angler, right? The one with the 2 pull tabs, not the 360. And
the 180 drive.
He had the 180. And so, which is a great value, by the way, even at the price tag. But he made the upgrade to the 360 and had like decided in his mind that he was going to do that, like basically sight unseen. But he had already been in, basically the same boat with an upgraded drive. So he kind of knew what he was getting into. I'd never fished out of Jeff's boat. I'd only ever fished in a paddle. I'd never used a pedal up until that point. And I was really, really torn because the Sportsman had just come out. But so had the Hobie 360 drive had just come out. And I actually waited almost 3 months to buy the boat that I bought because I was so torn between the two. Like the idea that I was going to buy like a finished version of a boat where everything was basically predetermined how it was going to work and how all the accessories worked and where everything was going to go on the boat really bothered me. The Old Town was like a blank canvas where it was like, you can do whatever you want. It can be any boat that you want it to be, and every accessory works for it. And it's up to you what you want to make the boat. And I loved that about my Old Town. I loved it. And I loved that it was rock solid. I like knew I wasn't going to get a lemon. They've been making these things for generations, and they were all every single one.
Yeah, the oldest kayak
canoe, whatever.
Yeah, they've been around the longest.
I have an Old Town Saranac that I take my son on. It's they're the best. And I was like, how do you walk away from that? And then I was like, looking at the price tag difference. Like, it's a $2,000 difference in price. Like, are you joking me? And I was so torn. And then I don't even know why I went with the Hobie. To be honest with you. Oh no, I do. I actually do. I remember the tipping point. The reason I went with the Hobie was I watched their trailer that they had on their website. And the trailer, it showed the 360 drive working the way it did. And I was like, I know that's exaggerated, but I get it. That's freaking cool. And that's a big upgrade. And I was like, that's very neat. But I'd never been in a pedal boat, so I didn't really like relate to that much.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was cool to watch, but it didn't really mean anything to me because I'd never lived in a pedal boat. And I was very interested in speed differential. I was obsessed with which one's faster. You couldn't tell. No one had made a video about it. And I was like, I don't really know. Like, what do I do here? Like, I'm talking about $1,500, difference, blah, blah, blah. Then I saw the kick-up fins. And I am a river rat, dude. Like, if you told me, there's only one place you can fish for the rest of your life, it wouldn't be a millisecond of hesitation to be the river every single time. And I knew that those kick-up fins had so much value, and the ability to do that was such a big upgrade that I was like, okay, I'm in. Like, that's the one that did it for me. You watch those things hitting a log, folding back, not getting damaged, start pedaling, they just flip back up. I was like, sold. That's better than a prop drive. Sold. But I didn't really I didn't understand the depth of my decision making, the decision that I made at that point. And when I first got my Hobie, I hated it. I didn't understand it. It didn't make sense to me. I didn't install the drive right because I built everything myself on it. It was trash. I was so pissed. And then after about 3 weeks, I started getting familiar. And after, now it's been 2 years or whatever, a year and a half, 2 years, and 3 seasons. And I'm like, and I'd spent a full 48 hours on a 10-foot Sportsman. And then I made a video. You guys can go watch you can see my unvarnished opinion about both boats. I'll tell you right now, and I just recommended it to 2 different people today on Instagram. Doug, if you're watching, I stand behind my recommendation. If you're interested in getting a high value, there's no question. It doesn't matter which version you get, you buy the Old Town. If you're interested in not accessorizing your boat to the max, I recommend going with the Old Town. If you're interested, if speed is important to you, I recommend going with the Old Town. It is substantially faster. If you're interested in owning a boat for the long haul, get the Hobie. If you're interested in stability, I still recommend the Hobie. It is more stable. You're splitting hairs, but it's more stable. If you're into saltwater fishing, you just get the Hobie. If you're a river fisherman, I highly recommend you get the Hobie. You will regret not having the 360 drive at multiple points every single day. And the biggest differentiators, the 360 drive for sure, the kick-up fins for sure. The Hobie is slower, but it has more torque, but it is slower. The Hobie is heavier, no question about it, but it comes in a 14-foot version, which is a big deal for a lot of people. The Hobie accessories are incredibly expensive, and arguably so, but arguably not so. But they are very high quality. Like you're not getting what you pay for, but you have to pay for it. And the front hatch and the mid hatch are really the other 2 things that I think are big differentiators. Having the elevated bin is gives me so much more confidence that unless I 100% flip, I'm waterproof. And same thing with the center hatch. So I actually keep my batteries for my front cam in my center hatch and a drop-in bin. I actually keep a lot of stuff that's water sensitive in the front hatch, and it's gigantic. But that being said, again, if you're at the top of your price point going for a 360, don't do it. Get the Old Town. You will be happier in almost every scenario. And if you're a pond fisherman, the 10-foot is hands down a better boat. If you're a pond fisherman, that's just my opinion. The number of people that were like, I love my Old Town, I love my Old Town, I love my Old Town in my video. Yeah. You can just scroll through and just see them. Yeah, but that's me.
And so here's where we get into is Alex has been on, I don't even know, it wasn't even the Outback. He spent some time on the Hobie.
An ocean paddle Hobie.
I mean, so and again, fishing in general is a bunch of people that love what they love, and they're gonna fight to the death over it.
They'll die on that hill.
Yes, and kayak fishing accentuates that with the kayaks. Yep. I will never talk shit about another fucking kayak because I've only been in two.
Sure.
The Avalon 120, which is the high dollar Walmart boat that Sun Dolphin makes, is a great river boat. That bitch tracks straight as hell. It's a paddle. There's no pedal.
Yep.
It paddles fast. My fat ass can't stand up in it. But for just being able tooling around and doing shit and being on some moving waters, a really good boat. Now the seat fucking sucks. It doesn't. It has the little gel seat on there, and if you're a fat ass,
but even if you're not, that's a big departure. Like when I tell people like to figure out what their budget is, the first, like when people ask the kayak, it's like, what's your budget? It's the first thing, and then you got to understand that when you're buying a kayak, you're basically buying two things. You're buying a seat and a drive. Mm-hmm. Technically, there's three and a hull. You're buying three things. Mm-hmm. Like it's like so it's just like buying a home. You can't add a basement to a house. If you want a basement, you got to pay for a basement. You can add a second story, but you can't change the basement. Like there's just something you can't add property to your home. So like if you need property, you got to pay for property. So it's like you buy the seat because you can't get a new one. And it's really hard to modify them. They make it impossible. The seat is something you cannot add. You can't add length. If you want 14 feet, there's not very many 14-foot boats. You got to get a 14-foot boat.
That's what she said. You can't add length.
See what I'm saying? No amount of money. And so it's like there's just some things that you're like yes, you can modify an Old Town to do a lot of things, but you can't make it 14 feet.
Yeah, and that's it comes down to the kayak. One, it comes down to what you start off in is what you're always comfortable with. I had a buddy here that was in a native, and he wanted a Hobie. He got the 12-foot version of the PA, and it took him a while to get used to it because he's got the 180 drive in it, and obviously with the native he had the pedal drive, so the instant reverse, and so it took him. But now it is. But now
yes, it is.
He loves that his feet aren't in water all day long.
Huge.
He loves the deck space. Huge. And this is the 12. It's not even the 14.
Still 40 inches wide. It's huge.
Yeah. He likes the deck space. It's bigger. He feels more comfortable standing up. It's just, but if you never, I've only been in the shitty ass Avalon and then the Hobie 14. So I'm not going to talk junk about the other ones, but I had the Hobie because of so when I bought my Hobie, I bought it used. It had been in the water like twice. I looked up, I was very patient buying my Hobie.
Oh yeah.
And I got a great deal. But the guy had tweaked the fins anyway. They ended up failing, and then a whole nother story about my local dealer fucked them up. Anyway, I ended up having to buy a new drive, and I got the kick up fins. I mean, like you said, that was for me. That was the kick of those pickup fins.
Changer.
Yes. Now mine's a 180.
Doesn't matter. Game changer.
Yes, because when you hit something, and not only the mast get bent, but then you got all those bearings that get torqued, and that's what ended up happening. To mine is yes, and that lower unit cost you $400 to replace that lower unit. So anyway. Like I got it, but
unless you have an Old Town and it's a 6 to 10 year warranty on the drive for all fixes.
It's great.
Anyway, let me finish my story, and then you can fanboy the Old Town since that's the only kayak you've ever been in. But I like the fins because some of the shit that I fish in is real grassy.
That's
and
a
so
big
with the
differentiator.
fins,
Much
the
better.
fins,
Much better.
when I get in the shallow water, I can flutter kick.
Oh, we call it the skinny paddle. We call it the skinny paddle.
Yeah.
Now,
Skinny
I will
paddle.
say this though, when you have to break out your paddles, it's no question. Doesn't matter being the Sportsman, the Predator, dude. It's like 5 horsepower. It's like having a turbocharger when you're in any other boat. But like I equated it in my video to the Hobie is like a it's like a manatee. It's a son of a bitch outside the water, and it looks gigantic, and it's unwieldy. The second that thing gets wet, it's just it's like a ballerina. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievably maneuverable.
Except we're going in reverse.
But even like, dude, even going. But like the thing is here's the thing about the reverse with the Hobie drive. I have almost the same control going in reverse as I do going forward. Mm-hmm. My ability to do a 360 or just do a complete 180 is like I move a foot.
Oh, it's way.
I have to have water going against the rudder to move the Old Town in any direction, which means it's a bitch to turn. And I remember dozens of times being on the water filming, and they're like, "Hey, can you just like go over here?" And I'm like, "Give me 5 fucking minutes."
Yeah,
and it was like, Jesus Christ. But I remember saying, like, if I had my Hobie, I could literally just go there. I could literally just be like, pedal, and I'm there.
100% right on that one. Yep.
And again, it's like but you always have to take in consideration. I paid like almost $2,000 more for that. So it's like I want to be clear. This is my opinion. There are other great boats. There's the Pescator. There's all these other, the Titan. There's a bunch of great boats out there. They all have their own place. But in my opinion, if you're just a if you're a bass fisherman, or even a multi-species, but if you're mostly a bass fisherman and you fish ponds, big water, small water, rivers, that's like your jam. I cannot recommend that these are the only 2 choices that you really should be making. And you should be, if you can't afford them, my recommendation is either be okay being pissed off or wait a year, save your pop bottles, and go get one of these 2 boats, because everything else is significantly below, in my opinion, is significantly subpar. Like there's every other boat down here, and then there's these 2, the 12-foot Sportsman and the Hobie 360 12 or 14. I mean, like everything else doesn't compare. Now I will say the 10-foot PDL Sportsman is in a class of its own. I would love to have one of those and get rid of my little 10-foot. I have an Old Town Vapor, a paddle, and I love that boat. But I could get away with getting rid of it and have a pedal boat that I like way more. I would totally do that. Now, the Vapor $700. You're paying. I mean, but still for $500 difference.
Still, like deep friend of the show, Delirious Angler. He was on episode 4, right? He's a Hooks at Hoodlums member. He's a big Old Town Armada guy, right? But he swears by that 10-foot PDL. I have the 12-foot. But he swears by that 10-foot because it's without the drive, that thing is just above 50 pounds.
Yeah, it's like 61 pounds or something like that, or 58 pounds.
It's super easy to throw around. You throw it in there, and actually I think Mild Bill, one of the owners of Hookset, I think he's got the 10. And so, like, you like that, Paul?
His name's Wild Bill, but he's
I call him Mild Bill.
Yeah,
he's
not as short as Alex, but
that's so good.
All right, boys. All right, I wanna. So my internet's crapping out, and my headphones are dying because we are Bass and Brews. So before we get to
don't ruin our fun because of your inability to prepare.
So before we get to what is probably going to be the most polarizing part of this episode, right? I want to give you a chance
hold up.
Oh my God! Every time.
Hey! Look, do your shout outs, and then before we get into our shotgun round, This is awesome. I got something to say. Do your shit so Alex doesn't have an aneurysm and die on the damn podcast.
We're very easy to find. We're Burly Fishing, Burly Fishing. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on TikTok. You can find us on YouTube. Is probably the best place to look for us. But yeah, we're on all we're on Facebook, but I don't know. It is what it is. I would go. Yeah, go ahead.
Where did Burly Fishing come from?
So Jeff's last name is Burlingame.
Burly.
I was not with him when we first started. Well, I like introduced him into fishing, and so I was like very much in the background when he started the YouTube channel. And then after like a couple 2-3 months, we were like, we should do a podcast. We did the podcast, and all of a sudden it was like, then I was helping out with YouTube videos, and then all of a sudden it was like, now I'm editing videos, and now I'm here, and like I'm the only one doing anything right now.
Well, I mean, that's why we brought you on, not him. We wanted the guy actually behind.
Good idea. Super good idea.
And then we talked about it a bunch, right? I'm gonna you want to shout out Monster Bass.
Oh Lord, quit.
Yeah,
moving.
so
just
no,
talk.
I got him. So we do have some key sponsors. And again, I'm not going to shout like everybody that we work with, but I'll shout out the ones that, again, like there are hills that I'm willing to die on, and these are some of them. So Okuma Fishing, if you haven't heard of them, big saltwater, big West Coast saltwater, salmon type stuff. But they lately made it into bass gear, and I'll tell you, the ITX spinning reel, the Saros, like they make some really high end ultralight stuff. Actually, all my ultralight reels right now are Okuma reels, and they've started to do some really cool stuff with like they have a bass fishing reel. It's actually got one right here. They're just like bringing in like high end Japanese bearings and putting them into like production model reels. Like they make some really, really cool stuff that would surprise, like really give you like a big surprise. So Okuma Fishing, one of our benefactors, Monster Bass, dude, again, we've talked about them ad nauseum, but great partner of ours. And then Mule Fishing. I mean, honestly, if someone said like, I got $20, I want to catch every fish in the lake, I'd tell you get 2 packs of plastics, get a 332 ounce and get a 132 ounce jig. And you, sir, are literally you could literally catch every fish within reach. So go check them out. And I'm not going to give you any codes or anything. You can go find them if you really want to. These are just people that helped us out, helped us get where we get. And, we're happy to rep them.
Listen, I'm going to echo a little bit of that. You guys heard it.
You're going to echo. We hear the echo. We hear the fucking echo.
Did he?
Yeah. It's not. Oh, we got you now.
Yeah. Quit
All
moving.
Right, so
let's talk.
You can go back to the episode where I brought the wife out fishing. She was struggling with everything, and she doesn't go fishing a lot, right? She fishes once a year for her birthday. I brought her out. I gave her a wacky worm. She was struggling with setting the hook. I put a mule jig on and a donkey tail, and that girl slammed a bunch of crappie and hooked into, unfortunately, because she was on a 4-pound line, she lost like a 4 to 5 pound pickerel. Just bit through the line. But that thing will catch everything.
Dude, it is a cheat code. It is I mean, it is legit. I wish I could like properly convey, and I've been making more videos just to like help people understand, but like it legitimately, once you get the size that the fish want for the day, and once you get the color, and I've got the colors dialed. Once you get the color, it's literally, you cannot miss. I caught in 2 hours 5 species of fish, 2 freshwater drums that were both well over 6 pounds on ultralight tackle on a 2.2 inch lure, and on the same all on the same plastic. That's
crazy.
It is a cheat code.
Listen, and we'll see if he listens this long, because I'll get a comment. If it can make Ramon Outdoors look like a good fisherman, it's got to be a good bait.
I love that guy. He is such a G. I will shout him out too. He's such a nice dude. I love meeting people like that are just like out there in the community. And like, I love that all these different communities intersect. And you see some people who are just like genuinely good dudes, and he's on the list for sure. Ramon Outdoors, I would give him a shout out as well.
Hey, Ramon, Bass and Brews wouldn't be what it is without Ramon.
I talk to Ramon weekly about.
He talks to Ramon more than he does me.
That's awesome.
Literally. Also, shout out Ramon. We're going to do inside baseball here. I'm not going to let it all out. Me and Ramon have come up with this really good idea. I brought it up to Paul. Paul's like, "Hey, Jabberhammer. I mean, we've got something new coming to Bass and Brews probably within the next month. some more content from us, but in a totally, Paul, how would you say it? Like a different format than we kind of normally do, and that was specifically up to I threw this idea out.
It
and
ain't worth talking about much more than saying we got some new shit coming down the pipeline.
So excited for it.
Because that's all we can say right now, because that's pretty much all we fucking know. Hey, we're about to get into the shotgun round here.
Okay.
And Paul Burly Fishing. Look at here. When y'all would do y'all call it the lightning round? Right?
We used to call it the lightning round, but now it's the slow rolling
thunder.
Yeah.
And so I was listening to the podcast before. I was listening when y'all turned it to the slow rolling thunder. And that's it made me laugh when y'all started saying that shit, because that's truly it, right?
It's 100%.
Well, this is the shotgun round, but after
or like a single shot 22.
Well, no, even worse. This is a shotgun round. So when you pull the trigger and fire the shot, and you go to eject the shell to put a new one in to fire another shot, that bitch gets hung up in there.
Yep.
And
you need to go get your pencil, get it out of there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a musket. It's a musket round, is what it is.
Well, kind of
musket round.
You know what? An 870, the 870.
I got one of my safe right over there.
Hell yeah! Look, that's when it gets jammed and you can't get that bitch out. You take it back and you slam it on the ground.
Yeah, you just run it over with your truck.
Yeah. Hey, my 870 has been the greatest paddle duck hunting ever.
You don't even need the J stroke. 100%.
No, it's great. It's great. So this is what the shotgun round is we're going to
it.
fire off the round,
okay,
and then there's going to be a jam. So
every shell.
Yeah.
Probably not every shell. We'll get there.
Well, when Alex did it, he asked the questions and moved on. Yeah. When I came on, I got shit I want to say, because if I don't fucking agree with you, we got to talk about it.
You got to have words.
Well, I'm country, and so many of our guests have not been Southern.
I like that country. I would say you have to distinguish, because you can be Southern but not country.
Oh, Lord, boy! I live in the Raleigh, North Carolina area. There's a bunch of people that are Southern.
It's okay it's better to be both, but like you can't. Not everyone is both. There's a difference.
Correct.
I'm both. Look, my town's so damn small that I graduated 50 people at my high school graduation.
There you go.
Listen, speaking of that,
at least 3 or 4 of them are at least 21.
we had Country Boy Creek Fishing a long time ago, right? And he had the most country and Southern answer. And somehow, Paul, we've forgotten to ask this the last couple of ones. So let's kick it off here.
All right,
Paul, are you going to spend more on a reel or a rod?
Oh. Holy Lord. I asked the same question on our show like a couple of times, and it was real interesting, like people's answer. And I think the answer ended up the general consensus was reel, because there's so many more moving parts and so many things to get wrong that, like, if you wanted to get something right, it was the reel. Now I'm always devil's advocate, because no one else is willing to be wrong, and I like being wrong. I would argue though that if you're getting a spinning reel, it's hard to screw up. And so if I was getting a spinning rig, I might spend more money relatively on the rod, because the rod, if you can get the right action, you can get the right rod. It's unbelievable the difference it makes. I'll never forget. I got my first medium light, and I spent a little more money on it. I got the 13 Fishing Omen Black, and I would be hard pressed to not go and spend that money another time, even at the expense of a spinning reel. So for a bait caster, hands down, no question, it's going to be the reel. If it's a spinning rig, the argument could be made that it could be the rod.
I would have agreed with you a month or two ago, because I would buy the cheap ass spinning reels.
Yes.
And I never realized the difference, right? When it came down to it. But I finally got it's not a high dollar spinning reel, but it is a medium cost. but it's a good one. The drag system on it is good.
Yeah.
And I think it was BTL, or maybe it was somebody's YouTube. They were talking about a spinning reel with the drag with bigger fish.
Yes.
And how a higher dollar spinning reel, you hear them reeling and the dragging at the same time. You hear that a lot. And you're like, what the fuck is he doing? Why didn't he tighten it up? Well, they're drop shotting, so they're maybe fishing 6-pound test, a small hook, this and that. Well, you're still bringing in line, all the stuff that goes into it. Now, when I got my new reel, my better spinning reel, the amount of fish that I lost significantly decreased.
Yes.
Because the other reels were either all drag, or no drag,
or none.
So it was forever to get it in, or I was ripping the shit out their mouth or breaking line.
It's a great point, and I will say there is probably a line, like a price point, that you have to break to make all these rules true.
That's right.
For a rod, it's like $80 is the line. You can get a decent rod for over $80. I'm holding a Duckett Silverado. It's $100. You can pretty much find it anywhere. Great rod, but you broke the $80 price point. That's what I think what matters. This is a much more expensive, a more expensive reel. This is the Akuma Hakai. This is the one I was talking about, Japanese bearing. Now, the same thing can be said for a bait caster, where when you drop these bait casters real hard and you're reeling and you just instantly crank them, you can hear the drag slip. You can hear the gears slipping over themselves. You won't get that on a higher dollar bait caster. And
I would also are going to cast way better too.
Yep. Well, and they'll cast. And I think if you want to test one out, or you're testing one out to see if you want to buy it, cast something that's underneath, underweighted. Don't go cast a 1/2 ounce spinnerbait.
That's a good call.
Go cast an 1/8 ounce when you should be casting a 1/4 ounce, and see how it moves off the line. Because that's and I'm not, most of the stuff I use ends up being Akuma. But I test everything. I got a Daiwa right here. I've got a Bass Pro, which is made by Daiwa right here. Spinning reel. I've used everything. I've got Luz up there. Like, I've used everything. But that Akuma Hakai can throw an 1/8 ounce just as good as it could throw a 1/2 ounce. And that's where you can really tell, again, like the difference. You start figuring out like how good is this reel going to actually be. Some people don't need that, and that's why, again, like general rule of thumb, it's a lot harder to screw up a spinning reel than it is to screw up a bait caster. So again, if anybody was like, what are you going to spend your money on? I would go get the Black Max combo, because I'm getting a pretty solid, what I know is a workhorse bait caster. I mean, it's just a good, it's not great, but it's good, but you're getting a cheap rod, but that's okay. Like, that combo is going to catch you a lot of fish. I would not do that on like a Shakespeare, spinning reel. Right. So you got to, that's just my opinion again, for what it's
worth. And our buddy Joe LaBarbera, that's been on a couple times, he talks about the formula. And the formula is the rod, the reel, and the line. And so that's the formula for what you're doing. Now, I think somebody bank fishing or just getting into fishing, they don't need to worry about the formula. They need something that gets a lure in the water.
Sure.
That they can start practicing. But when you start getting into just the step above that, then you can start creating a performance.
Specific rod and reels.
Well, we're talking about money. And this is where in my brain, when I ask the question, there's a differentiation, like a departure between what you're going to spend and what you're going to pick. Because you can get away with an oversized or undersized spinning reel. You can get away with it. You can get away with a smaller one. You can get away with a 100 Iowa as a frogging rod. You can get away with it. It's smaller, but like, you get away with it. It's a flipping reel, but you can still do whatever you need to do. The problem becomes when you pick an extra heavy, rod, and you're trying to fish a drop shot. So like, it's more important to select the right rod than the right reel. But if I was going to worry about where I'm spending my money, it's going to be
the reel. I like it. All right, Texas or wacky?
Oh God, what's funny? It's like, I hadn't fished in Texas rig for
probably. Like disgusting.
No. It's a great question. It's a great question. It's a great question. The problem is, like, I actually went probably almost 2 seasons without throwing a Texas rig. Then I had a rough day. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to throw us a Texas rig. And that's when I caught a big freaking honking fish. And so I'll be honest with you. It's my answer is going to be it depends. But if I had to pick one, it's going to be Texas
No,
rig.
that's not
It's going to be
thing.
Texas
You're not
rig.
a
It's going to be Texas
politician.
rig.
Okay,
No
Texas
qualifications. No qualifications. Gun to my head, Texas rig. And it's
pegged
because
or not pegged.
if I have to pick one, it's going to be pegged.
Okay. That's fine.
Now, there's nothing
you
wrong
can
with
be
having
wrong.
it.
You can be wrong. That's fine.
And again, the only reason is it's more effective in more places, in my opinion. In my opinion. So if I had to only pick one, it's going to be that one because every time I bring it out, it's going to be somewhat effective. Now,
so what's the difference?
If you said flipping docks, it's going to be wacky rig, and you can just go home, and we're all done here. Pegged, unpegged for me, it's either whether you're flipping or running grass or whether you're not, and so that's really the biggest thing for me.
So you chose Texas rig.
I did.
What is the difference between an unpegged Texas rig and the free rig that you want to be learning and throwing right now? Right, to me, that's the biggest argument people go back and forth on with those two. Is the free rig is just a damn Texas rig. Why not do one or the other? I see a difference. I hadn't fished a free rig at all, but you tell me because you're diving into the free rig a lot.
I am, and I'm not a free rig pro by any stretch of God's imagination. However, I love a Carolina rig, and I feel like
look, when I meet you in person, I'm gonna hug the shit out of you.
Carolina rig's right here. I'll tell you right now, I think if you're talking about which one is closer to a Carolina rig, it's not close. Like when I'm running a free rig, it's way more like a Carolina rig than an unpegged Texas like a Carolina rig, because that bullet weight, it doesn't function the same. It just doesn't function the same. Having that wider opening for whatever reason, I can do so many more Carolina riggy things when I want to than I can with an unpegged Texas. I just feel like it moves way more on the line. That is my aggressively average angler opinion with not nearly enough time on the water. So but that's the only thing I picked up so far. And I find myself when I run the free rig in my brain, I'm thinking Carolina, not so much Texas. And I actually, floating plastics in Carolina rig, just, you know what I mean? Like I love seeing that. And that's how a lot of times I want to fish them. And I find myself doing that with a free rig. So when you did a lift and drop with a Texas rig, I feel like I know right where that weight is. It's like 4 inches away from the bait. When I do that with a free rig, I bring it up, I drop it, and then I don't reel in. Down. I actually let it go out, and I put my rod tip forward, and that floating plastic actually pull away from the weight. And now I'm watching my line. I am no sensitivity whatsoever. I'm slacklining the whole damn thing. Texas rig, if I was doing the same thing, I'd reel it in. I'd be almost tight line, just shy of tight line. And I'm working it like a jig. I'm feeling like my brain is thinking jig. So it's just different.
My thing is that if all the Japanese guys are doing the free rig, there's something about it because Japanese anglers are 10 years ahead of anything we fucking do.
Way more. They've been working. They've been catching carp. They have carp specific rigs. They're 3D Chinese checkers. We are literally not even fishing. Yeah. Like it's insane. Dude, I love that they do that. I love that.
Hey, now that you mentioned it, and solid plug, I'm glad you're such a professional. When's the new podcast coming out, though? You want to drop it?
It's probably we're targeting like early August, so 3-4 weeks.
There it is, folks. Folks. All right.
I got a lot of work to do, but yeah.
All right, so now we're going to get to some way more serious and polarizing questions.
Some of them he's already answered.
Perfect.
Go ahead. I'm going to skip those ones. Maybe. Okay. We'll see. Anyway, slow jams or hype music? Which one's for you?
Dude, I work out a lot. Like, I do 2 a days a lot, and it's going to be hype train all flipping day. Now,
love it.
I'm an old school country fanatic. Like I listen to a lot of really old country. And so it has its place in my playlist. Actually, my most played playlist is country. But dude, like if you added up all the hours and if I had to only pick one, it'd be like metal for sure. My brother's in a metal band, a professional metal band. So like how can you not?
Oh. What's the name of his band?
We Came as Romans. They're gigantic.
I absolutely know who that is. That's that's
my
your
brother's
brother?
my brother's a bassist. Yep.
No shit.
Yeah, he's in Sweden
Like,
right
I
now doing like metal band
literally-
things.
Hold on, my earphones. It's really funny. I literally was listening to him yesterday.
There you go. They just had a new album coming out right now.
That's wow,
That's cool as
we're
shit.
gonna have to talk about that later.
I got you.
We just had Nick on who grew up. Nick from Cass and Crank was in.
Well, he didn't do metal. Nick was in hardcore punk bands. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a music.
all loud.
I don't know the fucking difference.
It's
You know
all
what?
loud.
Somebody's over there playing music.
All right, pineapple on pizza. Does it have a place?
I work for a pizza company, and I actually buy pineapple for that company. So I will tell you right now, mathematically, it is a top 5 pizza ingredient. So regardless of my opinion, it has a place.
No. The question is, Alex is fucking the questions up.
Okay.
I'm not
do
fucking
you
them up.
do you
We can
eat
evolve,
pineapple on
dickhead.
Does it
pizza?
have a place on my pizza?
Yes.
Yes.
I only eat meat toppings on my pizza.
Thank you. That's
I buy
the question.
all of my
Alex.
pizzas,
Jesus.
all of cheese is not a topping. That's part of the pizza.
That's
all of my
right.
all of my topping selections are just going to be meats
Mhm.
and hot sauce, which again is part of the pizza. It's not a topping.
Oh, that's
So
hot sauce. That's a new one we'll have to do because hot sauce does not belong
Yeah.
on pizza.
What hot sauce is it? Hot cock or is it what do
I'm
you
one of
like?
those sick freaks that like I like to get beat up by my food. I literally
Yes.
will eat like if I can find like
Yes.
the hottest thing, I'm like, yeah, I'll take 3 of those. Just bring it on. I literally have Instagram posts of me just eating like Carolina Reaper pepper jerky until I get heartburn. Like it's just
Listen,
what I do.
It seems like you got a good grasp on it, but maybe instead of all the fishing companies, maybe you should try to link up with like Charmin to cover the.
It's not a bad idea.
bottom
Or some
area.
sort of like body ointment. Yeah, for sure.
Astroglide.
Speaking of eating-
Welcome to the Burly Fishing Podcast
If you're
from
gonna
the Astroglide studio.
if they pay the bills and I believe in the product, which I do.
Speaking of all of that, I guess. Have you eaten beaver?
I've never eaten beaver, but I 1000% would. There's actually a jerky
Delicious.
joint. There's I eat squirrel and everything else. Like I'm a big hunter, so like if it walks, I'll eat it. I've eaten gar right out the lake. Dude, if it moves, like I'll eat it. But I've never gotten around to beaver. But there's a jerky joint on the way up north, and they're like the type of place that has like gator, kangaroo, like what,
In
dude?
Michigan?
And they. Oh yeah,
In
and
Michigan, they can fly this shit in.
they got shark, like dude, I don't know, and so and it's a shack with like no windows, so like it's like choice A. It's like it's definitely FDA double certified. So
I will tell you this: don't let the first beaver that you eat be jerky. It's got to be
Tail.
slow cooked. Not the tail.
in the fat from the tail.
Said,
you gotta cook it, right?
No.
It's a big
he
squirrel.
Said he listened to Meat Eater, right? So
Steve
big
Ranella is
a big fan of beaver tail, right?
It's
but he's got a whole fucking recipe. It's a whole fucking deal. It's a
book's
process,
right up there. His book is right up there.
It's is that the small game one?
I got both of them. That one's right up there.
Do you have the buffalo one?
No, I haven't, but I that's on my I read all my books on my phone, so that's it's on the list.
Buffalo,
slow cook it.
What's it called?
Slow
Buffalo
cook it.
Nation, I think.
Just like the so when I don't even want to get the squirrel recipes. All right, cool.
No, squirrel perlo. You cook squirrel perlo.
The only way to do it is in a slow cooker. I mean, like realistically, you can't mess it up. But like I think the real thing is like whether or not you make gravy and then whether you make biscuits. Like if you don't do that, like you've messed it up.
Have you done the nuts out of their guts?
No, I've not gone that far yet. But maybe I need to.
My grandmother would. She was this old Ukrainian woman, and she would sit there and she'd be in her house dress or muumuu, right?
Yep.
And she'd be like, "All right, sweetheart, go eat some raspberries." And Grandma would go out and pop a bunch of squirrels with the 22 in the backyard. And this is in Gig Harbor, Washington State. And she'd just pop all these squirrels, right? And I'd be like, "Well, why'd you pick those ones?" She goes, "They got the fat guts. They got the nuts in them." And
Dude,
I was
that's
like,
hilarious.
so what she would do is she would take the hazelnuts that they had like half digested.
Yep.
And basically, the acidic acid would rip off the bad tasting
Skin
part.
and all the crap.
So she'd make that into a jelly and make a hazelnut pie, but it was only made from nuts that were in a squirrel's stomach.
That's the most
fucking
legendary shit I've ever heard in my life. Life.
Okay, so that's gangster, and I thought that was. So I remember mentioning this to Amandy, my wife, right? Paul's, her name's Amanda, but now she's Amandy. But her stories with her grandmother, who again, it's very similar. She was an old Polish lady.
That's what we have. That's what we have.
Yeah, old Polish lady.
We make all of our sausage in like a metal tub.
But she would go out in the house coat, and what she would do is she would find snapper turtles in South Jersey, shove a fucking mixing spoon in their mouth, and then lift it up in front of all the kids, and then whack the head off, and then make turtle soup for everybody.
So and you never know what Polish people will do until you find out about like blood soup. So like,
blood soup's disgusting.
Legends.
Also, she would tell me stories about her mom. They'd be driving around and they'd stop, and then her mom would run out, or her grandmother would run out and fill a bucket full of dirt. And she's like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "Well, these are rich people. They got to have good dirt. We're taking that with us."
That sounds
so she would just dig up dirt out of people's
you guys
yards.
want? I should start videotaping things that happen at our cottage because that sounds like that is the most accurate Polish story ever. And this is not a knock. This is not a knock.
No. These are people that had to survive.
No, these are legends.
Like Depression era
legends.
Immigrants that came in and made do, and they killed.
Way better than us. I'm an embarrassment.
But yeah, so squirrels are good if you keep the nuts out of their guts.
Dude, that's freaking cool.
All right, man. Oh shit, I want to move down from that one. We kind of answered this one. I'm not even going to answer that or ask that one.
He eats largemouth bass. We know that.
Yeah.
10 out of 10. Highly recommend. Yep. Double breaded. That's the way to do it.
Okay.
But let me tell you something. People talk about largemouth bass tastes like fucking mud. It tastes like shit. I was like, bitch, I will cook carp.
You won't know.
I will fillet carp, catfish, brim, bass. I'll everything in the fucking lake. I'll fillet it. I'll fry it up, and if you can guess which one is bass, I'll give you $1,000 damn because I guarantee you the one you're gonna like the most is gonna be the bass.
I'll tell you right now,
they all gonna taste the fucking same.
The only person
has a video idea where Paul, we have some viewer or previous guest show up to Paul's house. Paul cooks a shit ton of trash fish and then like crappie in the middle, right? And I want to see who can pick out the crappie.
The only thing is you can't let me see the fillet.
Right.
Got to be blindfolded.
All nuggets.
And they got to be nugs.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing I'll tell you right now, the one that I'll pick out, the only one, walleye. I can tell you a walleye from any other fish in the lake.
Paul,
period.
You ain't got to worry about no goddamn walleye.
I know.
He ain't got no walleye down there.
I'm just saying. That's the only one.
Yeah, a funny story though. I was a wildland firefighter, and the first couple of years I was a wildland firefighter, I worked with some guys. One was from Michigan, one was from Minnesota, and they came down to the Carolinas. And so where we were was where I grew up, so I could fish all the farm ponds around, and I would go out. And long story short, I couldn't work like everybody else. I had only so many hours I could work, so I would go fishing. I ain't have no fucking money. I was poor as shit. They called me Depression Paul because I put half a piece of cheese on my sandwiches. I put one slice of meat on my, I was just poor.
I've been there.
But I would go out and catch fish at these ponds, and they were bass heavy. So all the bass were 10 or 12 inches small. Anyway, I'd catch them, put them in the cooler. The first day I did this, I must have 3 dozen bass. And I grew up, we didn't fillet shit. We cut the head off, we gutted it, we fried that bitch.
Yep.
And so these guys
like fillets with a potato chip in between.
Both. Yeah, exactly. The fin is the potato chip. You eat that first, and then
we eat do we eat the walleye collars? I eat the cheeks out of all my walleyes.
Both. The cheeks and fish are delicious. Anyway, the first guy, Jay Rue, goes, how do I eat this? I'm like, what the fuck, man? How do you eat it?
Take a bite, bro.
Yeah, you just
take a bite.
You eat one side, you peel the bones off, and
embarrassing.
yeah,
It's embarrassing. That's like
Hey,
handing someone a chicken wing. Like, what do I do next? Like, get out of here.
Exactly.
It's a spoon, bro.
Close to White Cloud or Baldwin?
What's that?
Are you close to White?
God, no. Baldwin's a great spot though, especially if you want to shoot bear. But no, I'm
it's
way
also
south of
got
that.
a world famous creek to fish in.
Right here.
Down south.
So when I was a wildland firefighter, I spent like 35 days up in White Cloud and Baldwin fighting.
Oh God, yeah.
I grew up in South Carolina. I saw more Confederate flags in the White Cloud, Baldwin, Michigan area than I did growing up in South Carolina.
You drove by more trailers making meth than anywhere else in your life.
Hey,
this
White
is also
Cloud,
2 episodes in a row that he's told this story.
You know what? Because they're Yankees, and I have to tell the story because they know where they are.
White
Cloud is also like the only White Cloud is the only place in America that couldn't sustain a McDonald's.
White Claw is probably your favorite spot because that's the only bitch drink you drink.
I will own that, and I'll tell you right now though,
not you, Paul, the other Paul.
If you wanted to shoot a bear, see a bald eagle, or catch a trout, it's a great place to be.
Yeah,
or get meth.
The name of the river,
or get meth.
Famous river. Yeah.
All right, man.
Their census return the year we were up there. The census was the year before or 2 years before. Was like 18%.
Oh God. Sounds about right, dude. Ain't wrong.
They actually had a census worker that was killed and hung. Anyway, all right.
Holy shit!
You don't have to be down south to be country. That's all we're saying.
That's right.
No, you don't have to be down south to be a redneck.
All right, you're out there for 3. Stop! You're out there for 3 hours, Pauls. Okay. The Pauls. I got to rein you guys in now.
Yep.
Both of you.
3 hours.
We're getting out of control.
Ask the question.
3 hours. Would you rather catch 5 2-pounders or 1 7-pounder?
Because of the way that I fish, I would probably be the 1 7-pounder guy. I love catching dinks. I do it all the time, but that's why I'm picking the 7-pounder because I feel like I work really hard to try and find I want to catch. My goal would be to pull up to a spot and be like, I can pull the one big fish out of this lake. This is your grandfather fished here for 30 years and never saw this fish. I'm gonna go find that fish in your backyard. That's what I would pride myself in. And it's very hard to do. So I would say I'm gonna be the big fish guy. I know everyone wants to hear Dinktown, but I live in Dinktown. So sometimes I like to vacation out at Big Mouth Bay.
No, man, you'd be really surprised. Usually it's our tournament guys, hardcore tournament guys are going to take the 5.2s. Anybody who does content creation or the other guests we have that aren't tournament guys, they all want the 7s. And we still had 7-pound we still had tournament guys who said, give me that. When 7.
I go out, dude, I go out with the intention a lot of times of targeting panfish. And then my goal, I just did it. This video you're going to see next week will be, I have a system with these mule jigs. I'm only fishing the mule jigs, and I'll go out and I'll throw the 332 on the large donkey tail. I'll hunt down the 3 bass that are there. I'll watch for any follows, and if I'm getting picked at, I'll downsize to the 2.2 minnow, and I'll pull a bull gill. And that's my goal. Target species is bull gill. So I'm actually pulling all the bass out, spooking them or catching them. And then I've made it so that now the biggest predator in that area is a bull gill. And then I'm going to smack the biggest blue gill
you can say it. You can say you're going to smack the what?
The biggest fucking bull that's on that rock pile, dude. And it's so satisfying. So I'm not against any of these things. But again, you told me, gun to my head, if I had to pick, dude, who doesn't want to just?
Yes.
But listen, I'm a 7-pounder. I'm a 7-pounder all day long. All day long.
Nobody asked you.
Actually, you did ask me on episode 9.
All right. So speaking of, you've done really well of not swearing, right? But we got an F-bomb out of you just now.
Sure. Yeah.
So speaking of somebody else, we've gotten an F-bomb out of. Would you say, and we're absolutely stealing this from his own show.
Yeah.
Would you say Alex Rudd is over or underrated?
Like in general?
Yeah.
So I've met him a couple times. Been on a show. No, I haven't. Yeah. No, he was on our show.
Yeah. Oh, I was on his show. You weren't on it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, some of it's I just like hesitate to say anything bad about anybody if I can avoid
you don't
it.
just say it. Just over or under.
Yeah,
over or under. It's okay.
I got to really think about this because he's got one thing that
good one.
It's a really good one. So I kind of want to say overrated because he has like the Joe Rogan vibe, which I actually really don't like.
Okay.
I'm going to say underrated because I've fished with him and he's a really good dude. And it doesn't. I love this. This is a good story. So we were we went up northern Michigan fishing with Benjamin Nowak, Alex Rudd, a couple other guys. Jeff and I were up there. We did a show. We were on Rick's show. And we asked, like, hey, who's the best fisherman of the bunch? Somebody called in and asked the question. I knew the answer.
Yeah.
And Alex, without hesitation, turns to Ben and is like, it's Ben. Period. The end. That like totally was like, that was a validating moment for me where I was like, because that dude takes a lot of pride in his not only his work, but in his fishing and his style of fishing and catching big fish and doing it all the time.
But Ben's a stick. He
had no problem acknowledging that whatsoever on his own, unprompted. And that actually like, I'm not gonna say it changed my opinion of it, but like it created my opinion of Alex and not that. So I will say, unless you know him, underrated.
All I heard was
wait. Unless overrated. You know him, hold on.
If you're just watching his show, I would say,
overrated.
Yes, because that whole, and this is just me being like 100% real. That whole like, the whole Joe Rogan concept of a show like really bugs me, and like I don't watch content like that, and I can't do it because it's exact. It's like this. He'll sit there and be like, don't mess with my, it's like a whole bunch of things. It's like one-liners that stick in my head where I'm like, dude, that's not the content that I kind of watch. And it's like, it's a little bit pompous and it's very declarative in its statements where it's like, it's this or nothing. Like this is the best or only do this. And like some of that's for social media and that whole thing. That's not content that I like to watch. I actually like my type of content that I like to watch and that I relate to is like Debo's fishing. Like that guy's like right in my same vein. And Debo will sit there and he'll own his like very niche lane, but he's very understanding of the fact that like nobody knows everything. And I've talked to Alex enough times and interacted with enough where like he's not like that all the time. But when he's like that on the show, I'm like, can't get down with that, man. And I can't like anybody that says like, hey, I'm the best like crankbait fisherman or whatever. Like, I'm out. I don't even care if you are. I don't even care if you are. I don't even care if you actually are.
Hey, you brought up Ben Nowak.
Yeah.
The story, the legend is he's the first person to put the forward-facing sonar on a kayak. And doesn't get really any credit for like being the one kind of the person that does that, which makes sense because he's not out there.
Yeah,
he's not a kayak guy.
He's not out there, but
I'll tell you right now,
Ben is a good ass damn angler for sure.
Ben is unbelievably humble, and and dude, when you shake his hand, you know exactly what you're dealing with. He's such a dude. Like, and I mean, he's a family man. Not that Alex isn't or anybody else isn't. This is not a comparison. I'm just making a statement about Ben. And dude, he's a good dude. He really is. And he works his freaking butt off. Like to watch somebody that's like goes out, makes content creation, understands what it means for his family, goes back, takes a professional job, potentially working his way back there. Like I have a lot of respect for Ben. And
when he has a super professional job too. Like it's that takes way more precedence over the content creation.
But
he's probably what you should do, right? Like,
but he's also like, he's probably the best fisherman that I've personally met. Like he's a freak. Like the dude just he just is like, he's so good. It's stupid.
That's
Hey, the worst angler I've ever met, and not even in person, is Wild Bill Fishing. He fucking sucks.
It's Mild Bill Fishing, yes. So when he fishes a Texas rig, he swims it like a speed worm.
No, it wasn't even a Texas rig. This man was deep cranking a wacky rig damn stick bait.
Yeah.
All right, go on. This is the
No, I'm gonna go back to that because we're close to the end. But I want to go back to somehow me and Paul have aligned ourselves with a fishing group where we have Ken, who's a robot. He's a social media robot. He just shits out videos. We have Andrew, the other owner, who's basically the Lego man from the Lego movie. That's it. That's all I got.
He's a Connecticut version of Boomhauer. So if you imagine, if you were to put 2 handfuls of gummy worms in your mouth and start talking, and you're for Connecticut, that's Andrew.
And then we have we have William, right? So-called Wild Bill, who's basically mild. All he does is run around with his shirt off because he fakes like he's in MMA.
I like that.
And that's about all he does.
Affliction or die.
Oh, he's I'm pretty sure he's the only guy. Well, he has a Tweety bird as
tattoo.
OG Scuba Steve said. He's got the Tweety bird tattoo across his chest. He's super into like he's not even into good MMA. He's good into he's really into 1995. He's into boss
niche MMA.
Exactly. And only midget MMA. It's fucking weird. But
whoa. Alex, anybody you can't be talking about being midget.
I apologize.
You short fuck. Let's go.
Well, then I can say it. All right.
Oh god.
If there's one kind of sandwich or treat, or not sandwich. Ooh. Jesus, I fucked it up. If there's one treat,
should I ask this one
snack,
since I hadn't?
No, I got it. If there's one snack that every fisherman likes to bring out of the water, it's a sandwich, right?
Sure.
It's the easiest thing to pack out there.
Sure.
All right. So, and this is the most polarizing. And I'm going to tell you right now, we've had some really good answers, and we've had some atrocious answers to this question.
All right. I'll hear the question now.
If you have an atrocious answer, not only will we make fun of you now,
sure,
we will make clips to make fun
ridicule
media.
me forever. I like it. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
All right.
Bailey from Serious Angler.
He's number one.
Still, he is.
Don't tell me the answer though, because I want to make my own mistakes.
Yeah, we're not. Ask the question.
Okay, good.
Ask the question.
The question is, what are your top 3 sandwich proteins?
Oh. Okay.
He thought it was going to be something really serious.
I thought this was going to
how do you solve the economy?
I was like, fix the inflation. All right,
how do you fuck this question up? Well, people have fucked it up.
That's kind of weird.
Oh, it's bad.
Top 3. I want to be surgically precise here. And it's fishing specifically, right?
It doesn't matter. Whatever the fuck you want to put on a sandwich.
Oh, just generic sandwich?
Yeah, whatever
Any
you want
sandwich?
to put on a sandwich.
Oh, God.
Every fisherman loves a sandwich.
Holy
your sandwich.
Right. There's a lot.
Top 3 proteins.
All right. Oh, you guys don't even know about sandwich punch. That makes this interesting. Okay. So I will say the number 1 deli sandwich meat is pastrami.
Okay.
It's got to be turkey.
Okay.
I will say my favorite sandwich meat is actually probably goose pastrami. And then
hold on. You're on to number 4 now. Wait, you went pastrami?
No, turkey pastrami. It's got to be turkey pastrami. That's number 1.
I didn't know there was other kinds of pastrami.
And then goose, like wild goose pastrami is on another level. It's on another level.
Okay.
And then I will definitely,
yeah.
And then I will say, God, how can you even mess this up? It's got to be. You got your salted meats. It's got to be between. I'm gonna go salami.
This is the best fucking answer we have ever had on this show, because I thought pastrami was beef. We got turkey pastrami.
Yeah,
we got
goose.
Not just goose. Wild goose pastrami.
It's got to be. Yeah. I don't know about any others. The wild goose pastrami is hands down.
Dude, this is it. This is it. We can't ask this question ever again because
but I'll tell you right now.
No, we're gonna keep asking it.
And I'm gonna tell you right now. I'll tell you right now. There are toppings that matter more than others when it comes to sandwiches. If your cheese selection is off,
you can say that for you.
Take a walk. If I see shredded cheese in your sandwich, get out.
Wait, shredded?
Get out.
Who puts shredded cheese on his fucking sandwich?
Desperate people. Okay. Hopefully.
I'm gonna tell you who puts shredded cheese.
Peasants.
I'm gonna tell you who does that. Bailey does, because Bailey also said that spinach was his number one protein.
When we asked him, Bailey's first answer was spinach.
Yeah, I think you're fired after that. That's not good.
Exactly. This is why for the last 40-something episodes since that episode aired, his ass gets called out. I love Bailey to death.
That's brutal.
Love him to death. But
I
we
do
also
too, but
had
I'm
Delirious Angler said cheese.
I think you got to bring him his sandwiches from now on. That's a protein.
Well,
sort of.
I think because this is our day and age, right? I'm going to do a petition for Serious Angler to be called the Unserious Angler. Because if you think fucking spinach is the number one protein.
The embarrassing angler. That's not good. It's not a good look. It's not a good look.
The seriously embarrassing angler.
There you go. The seriously embarrassing angler. That's a bad look for sure.
All right, so that wrapped it up. Hey, oh my God, Alex. Shh. Real quick, look, we got to give a shout out. Alex and I are wearing the Y'all Look shirts.
Yes.
Alex, turn around. Yeah. Showing the back.
He's trying.
Oh my God, he's trying. This is so fucked up. Anyway, the back has the Bass and Brews logo on it. Look,
nice.
Josh and Sam from Wisco Baits make some great jigs. I caught a good catfishing one. I'm going to fish it here next couple times I go. Check them out, Wisco Baits. But he is going to do a second run of these shirts. These shirts are they have all this stuff on it. We don't get anything out of it. This is stuff that they're doing on their side. But they're going to do a second run. Hopefully this coming week, he's going to post some stuff. Send him a message on Instagram. Hooked Up North, Josh Huebner, Huebner. Check him out. He's going to do a second run on these if you want some. I know some folks have messaged me about them, so they're going to coming up. But check Wisco Baits out. Check out.
If you guys get them, tag us. Bass and Brews podcast. Like, we'll fucking repost it. I want to see you guys wearing them.
All right, man. I think that's it. Hey, you got anything else, Paul, from Burly Fishing that you want to shout out?
No. Just if you like edutainment, come check us out, man. We try and keep it fun. We got a lot of dad jokes, and we got like the good buddy shtick going. So if you're into two dudes just like making fun of each other, catching fish, and then get a couple tips and tricks. We're your aggressively average anglers for sure.
And they also go back and listen to Burly podcast because they do have some badass guests on too.
We have had some.
Forget about the badass guests.
We've been really lucky to have some good guests. Again, some of my favorites. I mean, Rudd was on our show. That was a great show. Mm-hmm. Christine Fisher was just an absolute, probably one of the best kayak anglers out there right now.
Top 5 easy.
I want to get Drew Gregory on our show. I think that would be awesome. He's one of my favorite kayak anglers right now. But yeah, it's a good show, and keep an eye out for the Aggressively Average Anglers podcast here in the next couple of weeks.
August. Nice.
Yep.
Oh Lord, I'm going to send us out of here. Hey, Paul, Burly Fishing, you hold on a sec. We're going to end this. Hold on, and then we'll be with you. We'll see y'all next time. Hell.